You're watching BT Sport 1. Thank you very much for being with us this evening. For the first time ever, we're now 30 minutes away from live football on this channel. And just to make it crystal clear what's going on over on BT Sport 2 right now in high definition, you can see Rugby 7's getting going. Craig Doyle is just through there. So if you hear a big shout and a loud noise, it means that the rugby boys are getting excited about something. But actually, plenty for us to get excited about here, Michael. And you might have a big smile on your face if the game is good, but not for the first time today. We are so sorry to drag you away from the celebrations at Glorious Goodwood.
I'm going to party with him tonight. There's no problem about that. I'll help him. I'll help him celebrate
Good.
tonight.
I'm off home to a newborn baby, so Macca's your man in town this evening. What was it like today at Goodwood for you?
Oh, it was fabulous. Obviously, Claire Balding was there as well, and we spoke after. But no, it was a great day. I mean, to win a big race with the heritage that race has got, over 200 years that race has been running, and he did it well. It was a good, strong pace, and he flew at the end. So I bred him, so I've got a special place in my heart.
And I know that you said that the guy that rides him regularly and looks after him had said to you that he is really running the best he's ever run. You still didn't expect that, though, did you?
Well, I think when he's yours, you always have a soft spot. You always think he's going to run better, I suppose, than he does, and he's no mug. You know, the chap that rides him every day, he said he's bouncing out of his skin. He's really ready to rock and roll, and he did it really well. And now, God, you get so excited about the next steps. We're talking Irish St Ledger and Melbourne Cup and things like that.
So. Melbourne Cup.
Oh yeah, Masha wants to go with you to Melbourne. Is that all right?
Yeah, you can come too if you want.
JMO will hold the fort back here talking football.
Absolutely.
So let's talk football then. Let's have a look. This is the official team sheet from in the tunnel. We managed to get a sneaky shot of it as someone was holding it up. I think before we talk about the Manchester City team, you take a look at the Bayern Munich team, you know, the current dominant team in Europe who totally dismantled Barcelona last season in that Champions League semi-final. And that is a strong side, David.
Indeed. I do believe it's Schweinsteiger's birthday today.
Happy birthday, Schweinsteiger.
Absolutely. Yes, wish him a happy birthday. Yeah, the Bayern Munich side, very, very strong. The midfield, except for Cruz, I mean, they're all nearly 30 years old, so there's a lot of experience in there as well. And I think Manchester City are going to struggle to be able to deal with them.
Yeah, and this shouldn't be a surprise to us that Bayern Munich have started to dominate Europe, particularly the fact they took on Dortmund in the Champions League final last year, because this strength of German football has been coming for a long time. It's no flash in the pan, is it?
No, not at all. And I think we have to realise that they're a very well-run club, Bayern. They're a very professional club. They've got lots of finances. You know, they don't have the trouble that clubs have had in the English league. And they were very dominant last year. They won the treble. They won the league a couple of months before the season has even finished. Yet they'd already strengthened. They've already gone and got Mario Götze, and they've gone and got Thiago Alcantara from Barcelona. Really good young players for the future. So already they're thinking to themselves, what can we do for the next step? What can we do? And it's going to be a good team to beat them this year.
Yeah, and this is an interesting night actually for Manchester City, because we know that the new owners have already won the Premier League. Great, ticked, done. What they really want now is to dominate Europe. So this is a stellar test to see how close they are to being among the best in Europe, I think.
Well, I think after last season, they're miles away, aren't they? I mean, knocked out in the group stages and didn't win a game, and it was a poor effort last year. So they'll be looking to certainly get.
Can these boys make the difference?
Well, I think it was an exceptional year last year. They were in the group of death, as they call it, and I'd expect them to qualify without these boys. But certainly, you know, Navas, Negredo, Fernandinho, and Jovetic are the big signings so far, and they're good players. I mean, you know, a couple of them from Spain, so Pellegrini will know an awful lot about them.
I'm looking forward, Michael. What do you think about the two centre forwards, Negredo and Jovetic? Jovetic is young. Negredo we know a lot about. I wonder, I'm really looking forward to seeing them tonight, because I wonder whether they are top class. Yes, we talk about Cavani. I mean, I'd like to hear Michael, because he's a centre forward, knows. You know, we talk about Cavani, we talk about Suarez, we talk about Falcao. Yes, they're, you know, under them because the price bracket dictates that they're under them. But I wonder whether they are good enough to take Manchester City to the next level.
Yeah, I think Negredo's he's more of a goal scorer than Jovetic, and he's banged him in throughout his career, and he's played at international level now. You know, Jovetic has got a decent record at international level. He hasn't scored that many goals for Fiorentina. I think it was 40 in 120 something games. I mean, it's 1 in 3, not even 1 in 3. And you know, I think he's not necessarily an out-and-out goal scorer. So again, interesting to see how they adapt.
Chairman?
Well, I think if you look at Man City over the last few years, they've always had supposedly great players. I think the biggest improvement they made this season is obviously by bringing Pellegrino in, because all of a sudden you've got someone who I think will have more respect from within the changing room. I think last year there was a lot of unhappy people in the Man City change room. So as good as the players you're talking about, I think there was arguably equivalent records with the previous lot. So the manager coming in, I think that's going to make Manchester City a stronger.
Well, perhaps we're about to get a good idea of what the atmosphere is like inside that Manchester City dressing room. We know that tonight Joe Hart is not involved, but the good news is he's with Ray Stubbs. Stubbsy.
Joe, thanks for agreeing to talk to us. First things first, can you give us a sense of how life is developing under your new manager?
Yeah, it's going well. We're knowing where we stand and stuff as a team and how we want to be playing, which we execute for about 35 minutes yesterday, and then it all fell apart a little bit. But yeah, we're going in the right direction. Everyone's feeling the vibe, and it feels good.
How would you describe his style, Mr. Pellegrini's style?
This will sound strange, but I'm kind of just standing goal. I don't really know that much about football as far as management goes, but in terms of how I feel about him, he seems very direct, tells us what he wants, what he needs, and that's a lot easier to do as a player.
What's the sense of the atmosphere around the camp? Because I'm sensing a lot of positivity. Is there a major change from a Roberto Mancini era? Yeah,
of course. There's different staff, different players. There's a few of us that have stayed, but we know our goals. Whoever's in charge. So I think it should work out. We've got some good players here, and fingers crossed we're going to do some good things this season.
Your four major signings, Messrs. Navas, Negredo, Jovetic, Fernandinho. What are your early impressions of training with them and playing with them, please?
First and foremost, they all seem like good guys, which is really important. Speak decent English, want to get involved with the boys that are already here. We're building a good thing here, and football-wise, as you expect, excellent. All of them very good players, bring different things to the party, and they're going to improve us. 5-0
against AC Milan after 30-odd minutes last night.
Yeah.
That's some going, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it should have stayed that way. Really, ideally, that's what we wanted to stay. We weren't really happy with the 3 goals, but like I say, we've got a new style that we're working on, and it's working for most of it, but not all of it.
It's pre-season, there's no points at stake, but what does this offer this evening? Bayern Munich, European champions, in their own stadium. What an opportunity to send out a signal.
Yeah, it's a great game for us, something that we want to be involved in. Again this year, in the Champions League will be an opportunity to play them, the champions of Europe. It's going to be our toughest test, definitely, of the season so far, and something that we're ready for.
The season's going to be terrific. David James is in our studio. Any message for David back in London?
Yeah, we've been away for way too long now. We missed you hosting the darts like in South Africa, so I tried to do it, but I couldn't stand up to you, mate.
Joe, thanks very much. Cheers.
Problem.
Nice to see you. Thanks. Thank you very much.
So Joe Hart was on the bench tonight. Darts, eh?
Joe Hart. One dart Hart.
One dart Hart, right. Yeah. And what's your nickname?
I didn't have one.
OK. Well, he's missing you, clearly, so make sure that you get a game of darts with him.
I'm missing him too.
All right. Well, let's talk about last night. Joe Hart will be so frustrated. You saw his reaction, actually, when AC Milan got 1 goal back. But first of all, let's focus on Manchester City. And this was an incredible start for them, 3 minutes in, Steve.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? There's Jesus Navas getting down the line straight away. 3rd minute of the game against the decent AC Milan side, taking the defender on. Great cross in, and that's great to see, I think, from Manchester City supporters.
It's good to see Micah Richards
doing well.
Micah
Richards scoring. I mean, AC Milan were appalling, I must admit, in the first half yesterday. Jake, as you can see by his catalogue of errors, Manchester City cut through them every effort they had.
It was a weird start from AC Milan, wasn't it? Have you ever been involved in a pre-season game where the lads around you just haven't turned up, David?
I've been involved in season games where the lads haven't turned up. So, I mean, what I liked about Man City was, they looked so aggressive, and when I saw the highlights of this, I didn't take note of the clock. And it wasn't until I saw the 8th goal go in and realised it was all in the first half. So it was amazing. But the keeper for Milan is not their usual Abiati, is it? So I think he would have been happy. But with Joe, you're talking about him not being happy, or as he said, not being happy about the goals he conceded.
Great finish. And Dzeko will be loving that, considering that they've brought in a couple of big-name strikers.
He's had a really good pre-season, Dzeko, and scored lots of goals.
Yeah. Perfect time to do it. So, David, put us in the mind of a goalkeeper here. And look at Joe Hart's reaction. I think this was interesting. He boots the ball there. Furious.
Yeah, there was a saying. He's one of the most honest players you're likely to meet, especially in after-match interviews. If he's not happy, he's prepared to say it. And I think people have been giving him a lot of criticism, or a bit of criticism the last season, but this is, again, he sort of puts himself forward as the guy who wants to do better, and it's easy for people to use him as a target. The 3 goals, I mean, arguably there's not a great deal he can do when he's being exposed.
Well, they won, that's what matters. Here they are, shaking hands at the end of a 5-3 game. Considering the way the first half went, we were expecting fireworks in the second half, and we didn't really get close to it. But for the new man coming in, it's interesting actually. Pellegrini came out today and he said, do you know what? We could make changes if things carry on like that. It doesn't matter that it's a pre-season game. When you're a new manager coming in, you don't want to see your players playing like that at the back, 5-0 up and taking their foot off the gas.
No, certainly that last goal. I mean, it was awful. I mean, it was real schoolboy type of defending. Yeah, and going 5-0, obviously would have been pleased with that. Italians are often slow starters. They often start their league a little bit behind us. So I've played against Italian teams before that are just totally off it fitness-wise. But for them then to come back into the game sort of flips that on its head a little bit. But I'm sure Pellegrini will be happy with certain aspects. But yeah, Man City's defender was pretty poor there. They'll need to brush up that.
OK, well, I'm sure that Man City fans are relieved that Vincent Kompany is still at the club. We know that Barca have been so keen to get their hands on him this summer. He had issues with the previous manager at Manchester City, but he's still there. He's still a City player, and we can now hear from him.
He's been really good with us. We train hard, and you know, like with every manager, he's got his own beliefs, his own methods, and you know, we've had to adapt very, very quickly.
How would you describe his style? Because as club captain, you have to maybe put some of his thoughts through to the rest of the players.
Mainly, we all have the role, the same role in this case. We all have to buy into whatever he wants to bring to the club. And I think he said it himself, his style, he wants to play attractive football, he wants to play, he's forward-minded, definitely. But I think it comes on a good base as well, because we've always been a very well-organised team. And you know, bringing that offensive a little bit more will maybe do us a lot of good.
Can I talk about your four new signings, because it's a very exciting squad that's being assembled. Your first impressions, having seen them in training, of Jesus Navas, for example?
They've been outstanding. I mean, you know, you always think about strengthening your team every season. And I think that we've done our homework really well there. They've been already impressing, I think, in the games they played in Hong Kong on a very difficult pitch, and where they didn't have a lot of training with the team, and they just keep getting better. So they're also players with a very good mentality and attitude towards the team. So I think I can really say that we've done our homework really well, and they will improve the team quite rapidly, I think.
Over the recent months, when you've been reflecting on last season, what do you feel is the key issue that perhaps was missing?
We failed in crucial moments, I would say. The FA Cup final is a big example of that. We failed in a very important moment. It could have been an okay season if we would have won the FA Cup, and we ruined it ourselves. So we only got ourselves to blame for it. Then we finished second, which is, you know, there's a lot of team who invested a lot of money who finished below us. So you can actually say that it can happen. But it just leaves a disappointment, because you've won the season before, you just want to win it again and again. And then obviously the Champions League was just very bad.
Who are the favourites for the Premier League title? Is it Chelsea? Is it Manchester City? Is it Manchester United? How many teams can win the title?
I just think you have to keep it in the order of last season's ranking. I think you always have to keep it in the order of the previous season's ranking. So United won last season, they will be the favourites, then it'll be us and Chelsea and Tottenham and Arsenal and Liverpool. And for me, that's how it goes. But every season it changes, of course, so we'll see. But it'll be such an interesting season for the neutrals, for the fans, everybody.
Even a player who's achieved what Vincent Kompany has done will want to impress the new manager. This is him warming up on the pitch right now in Munich. We'll be there live very shortly. I can tell you that the Manchester City team tonight includes Alvaro Negredo, Fernandinho and Stefan Jovetic. 3 new signings are in the team. Man City up against Bayern very shortly. Welcome back to BT Sport 1. You just saw live shots of the Allianz Arena in Munich. We will be there live with Manchester City up against Bayern Munich in a couple of moments. But this is what's happening right now on BT Sport 2. Live Sevens rugby. It's all starting to kick off here on BT Sport right now. 2 channels simultaneously broadcasting football and rugby, and of course there's ESPN as well, and we've got live tennis coming your way this evening. But right now let's really start to focus on what's happening in Munich and go live back to Munich to a man who is well at home standing on the touchline and in fact standing on the pitch at this stadium, a man who won the Champions League with Bayern Munich a few years ago. Owen Hargreaves is there for us this evening. Owen, the atmosphere in that stadium looks amazing.
Well, it's amazing. It's great to be here. It's probably as good a pre-season friendly as you could possibly have. 2 great teams, 2 teams with new managers, and it's a great game for everybody to look forward to tonight.
It's obviously a while since you left the club. I mean, what sort of reaction and reception do you get when you go back there?
Well, I spent 10 years here, and I learned so much. And it's a great club. It's a very family club, and everybody there has been really excited. And you know, it's great to come back here. Obviously, in a very different capacity from when I was an active player. But the club has grown tremendously from my time. They've got such a great group of players and such a great manager that the club has really gone from strength to strength.
Owen, it's Macca. Just wanted to ask you, talking to people in Munich, do they feel there's a distinct change of play with Pep Guardiola?
Well, I think that's probably the only danger, that you go and change something that's worked so well. And I think obviously he's proven yesterday by playing Philipp Lahm, arguably the best right back in the world, central midfield. So I think he's going to put his own stamp on it. Hopefully it doesn't affect the team too negatively, because obviously last season they worked so well.
OK, Owen, thank you very much. We're back live in Munich after this quick break.
We're ready. Are you? The Barclays Premier League kicks off live on BT Sport.
Welcome back to BT Sport 1 in live and in high definition. These are pictures coming in to us from the Allianz Arena in Munich. Very shortly, Bayern Munich will host Manchester City. So let's join our commentators. Ian Dark is alongside Owen Hargreaves in the stadium. And Ian, this is a big moment, your first commentary on a brand new channel, and what a mouth-watering game to kick off with. When the semi-finals were being played yesterday, this was the tie that we were hoping for, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Welcome along, Jake. It's great to be part of the new first night on BT Sport. Welcome along, everybody. It's a lovely night here in Munich, but it's going to be a tough old night for Manchester City, Owen.
Well, it's probably as good as atmosphere as you could have hoped for at a pre-season friendly. 2 great sides, and I think the fans and the expectation, you can feel it actually in the stadium, and it's going to be something to look forward to tonight.
The new signings, 3 of them are playing. Stefan Jovetic, you liked the look of him, didn't you, last night in the semi-final here?
I thought he played great. There was a short cameo, 45 minutes. I thought Fernandinho looked very good as well. Be interested to see how Negredo probably fits in. He's probably not going to be a starting player, but he's got a great opportunity tonight to go against what is a very good Bayern Munich side.
We were talking to some of the Manchester City backroom staff, and you get the feeling there's a very strong vibe that this team are going to do great things this season. Do you feel that they can get the title back this time around?
Definitely. I think the squad is potentially as good as any squad in the Premier League, and I think obviously with the change of manager, I think they're very excited about the potential, the possibility. They've gone out and spent over 100 million again, and I think they're going to be a favourite for the Premier League.
As for Bayern Munich, they've put a heck of a strong side out tonight. I think 9 of the Champions League starters are playing here from the start.
Well, I look at the squad, and it's probably as good a Bayern Munich side as they possibly have. I think the only thing that's missing is potentially a striker. But I think
67,000 the Allianz Arena holds. It's a wonderful, wonderful arena, and it is full for what is, let's remind you, a pre-season tournament. And they're putting all the trimmings on as well for us.
Well, I think this is what Bayern Munich does probably better than anyone, and obviously you can see for a pre-season friendly, as I said before, this is probably as good as it will get.
The players have been warming up beforehand. Manchester City, they're in there, aren't they, in the title hunt again with Manchester United and Chelsea this season. The gap was 11 points though last year. You heard Vincent Kompany saying United are favourites again.
I disagree. I think Chelsea are favourites, and I think City is probably a close second, and I think United haven't strengthened as much as the other two, and I think as it looks now, in my opinion, I think Chelsea and City have potentially two of the strongest squads.
So a tasty looking offering here. European champions Bayern Munich against Manchester City. You can enjoy a little of the opening ceremony before we get underway here. This, of course, the scene of Chelsea's famous Champions League final triumph a couple of seasons ago when they broke Bayern Munich hearts, of course. But not many teams play away to Bayern Munich, certainly English teams, and win. In fact, if you discount that Chelsea penalty shootout win, only Norwich City, way back at the old Olympic Stadium, the 2-1 win with Jeremy Goss and Mark Bowen scoring famously for Mike Walker's side, and Arsenal last season when it kind of didn't matter in the end.
Yeah, I think obviously traditionally Bayern Munich is so strong at home, and this season they'll definitely be the same again.
I can't believe how strong a side they put out here. Bayern Munich, their season is only 8-9 days away, the start of the Bundesliga. These players are fit and sharp. 9 of them started last night.
Amazingly enough, and I think the most surprising thing is he's gone with his false 9 tactic again without playing a striker, which seems to be one of his traits, and obviously they're going to rotate between Muller, Robben and Ribéry.
But of course they were beaten 4-2 by big rivals Borussia Dortmund in the German Super Cup only last weekend. That was a bit of a stunner, wasn't it?
Well, I think it was a close game. Muller had an opportunity to make it 3-3, hit the crossbar. So obviously in the end 4-2 looks a result, but I think Bayern Munich wasn't at full strength as well.
Two teams on their way here for what is the final of the Audi Cup. Pre-season tournament which started in 2009 in these parts. It's lavishly organised, I think it's fair to say.
Well, I think everybody behind it, Audi, Bayern Munich, Telecom, I think they're all done such a great job of putting on such a terrific pre-season tournament, and hopefully we get a great game today with a lot of goals.
A lot of famous names and faces there. By the way, it's Bastian Schweinsteiger, your mate's 29th birthday today.
Well, unsurprisingly enough, on his birthday, or 2 days in a row, he might potentially play 90 minutes. So I think that's probably a slight surprise.
Big surprise, because he only had an ankle operation at the beginning of June. I think last night was his first start back.
Exactly. So maybe he's just trying to get the fitness in him while he can.
There is the Bayern Munich side fielding 9 of their Champions League final starting lineup. The other 2 are Toni Kroos, who probably would have played at Wembley if he was fit, and the new signing from Barcelona, Thiago, who hit a hat-trick for Spain in the European Under-21 final this summer against Italy. That is a very, very strong team, with Javi Martinez for the second night running as a central defender. Wolfgang Stark is the experienced German referee for this. And there's Philipp Lahm, who interestingly was used as a central midfield player by Pep Guardiola last night. Has he got an idea about that?
I don't think you'll see that happen too many times this season. I think Philipp is very capable of playing central midfield, but you know, he's the best right back in the world, and he'll play there this season.
There's the Manchester City side, fielding 3 of their 4 new signings, strikers Stefan Jovetic and Alvaro Negredo, and their most expensive buy this summer, Fernandinho, the Brazilian who cost £30 million from Shakhtar Donetsk. Jesus Navas, the other new signing, is on the bench. He looked very good, by the way, starting last night.
Well, Navas looked great, Fernandinho looked great, Jovetic looked great. It's an opportunity for Negredo, but the only thing on this side is that's virtually the first choice back four besides Boyata.
And here's Pep Guardiola, start of a brave new world for him after his sabbatical. Can he do the great things with Bayern Munich that he did with Barcelona? And Uli Hoeneß there under a bit of a cloud at the moment, under investigation. Big headlines in Germany in a tax evasion case relating to a Swiss bank account. So what an interesting pre-season test this is for Manchester City, with their new coach and their new signings on view. Well, most of them anyway. Have to say though, Owen, didn't Bayern look fit, sharp and ready last night, beating Sao Paulo 2-0? Could have been more.
Well, they were much better than Sao Paulo, but I think tonight I'm very much looking forward to Thiago. I think he's been a great addition to the squad, and I've heard great things from all the other Bayern Munich players already about him.
Here's the birthday boy, Schweinsteiger. Muller, who didn't start last night, was the player playing it wide. That's Negredo's first involvement. 25 goals in La Liga for a mid-table side, Sevilla, last season. Not bad. He will find the net. I think we know that about him, don't we?
Well, I think the only thing is he going to get enough opportunities? I think Edin Dzeko, Aguero and Jovetic are probably the first choice 3, and the question is he going to get enough games?
Right on cue, Negredo out to Milner. Here's Negredo again.
Well, I doubt we'll see him in these positions very often. I think his greatest strength is his finishing in and around the box. So he's not the quickest player, but he's a great finisher in and around the box. And if they can get him the ball in those positions, he could be very effective.
Danche clearing it, the Brazilian. And here's Thomas Muller. Full of goals pre-season. Arjen Robben. Looking to find Ribéry, who's in behind here. It's Ribéry with a chance, and Pantelimon with a big save early.
Well, it's such a great ball from Robben. A great run from Ribéry, and defender caught slightly out of position. But I think Bayern Munich displayed the quality that they have, that they can hurt you at any point.
That Manchester City defence with Dedrick Boyata playing, almost a forgotten man. He hasn't played for Manchester City since May 2011. He was on loan in 20 in the Netherlands last year, but his last game for them was December. So he's a surprise inclusion really here.
Well, obviously with the Nastasic injury, I think that's probably one of the areas of concern for this Manchester City squad is maybe lacking one other central defender, and I think that's probably something that they might have to address before the season starts.
Well, they say Nastasic is about 4 to 6 weeks away with his ankle injury at the moment. So will Pellegrini go into the market? There's been quite a bit of talk about Pepe of Real Madrid, but there's a lot of talk at this time of year, as you probably noticed.
Well, I think the most important thing is to get somebody that's going to improve the squad, not just anybody. And I think if they can go out and get somebody who can be a positive addition, I think it's worthwhile.
Here's Danche, scored his first goal for Brazil in the Confederations Cup against Italy in the summer. Schweinsteiger again. We were expecting he'd be left out completely, having had a long run out after his injury last night, but no, back in the starting lineup again tonight.
Well, yesterday it was so easy for him as well. He always plays within himself. He always takes time. The good players always seem to have so much time on the ball, and I think if he plays like that, he could probably play 2 games in a row.
It's interesting, Bayern Munich, in comparison with the globe-trotting of the top English teams who are really clocking up the air miles, they haven't been outside Europe pre-season. They've hit 22 goals in 7 games so far, with only Dortmund beating them. Clichy playing it right to Nasri. Jovetic trying to make some ground down that left-hand side. Here's Samir Nasri. Bit of space up here for Milner. Chance to hit one with the left foot. It was blocked by Danche on the way through. Nice play, wasn't it, by Fernandinho, who's impressed everybody, I think, in the coaching staff with his solid professionalism since arriving.
Well, I think technically he's obviously very good as a Brazilian, but what surprises me the most is how physical he is. And I think if he can be a physical midfielder, I think that would be a great addition to the power and technical ability of Yaya Toure.
Robben now for Bayern Munich. He's an exciting player to watch. You know he's going to get it onto that left foot, but try stopping him. Because Bayern are much closer to the start of their league season. They might just be that little sharper. Ribéry across the face. Robben was arriving, but not quick enough.
Well, it was a great ball from Philipp Lahm. Pablo Zabaleta got caught out of position a little bit, get caught in the counter-attack, and obviously Bayern is proven already today that they could hurt you on the counter-attack very quickly. I just think the end product from Ribéry was a little bit poor.
It is a fantastic arena, and sitting beside me, Owen Hargreaves, the man who scored the very first goal in this arena against Borussia Mönchengladbach, wasn't it?
It was. Actually, I was playing left back as well. I think that was at the time when I was being utilized all over the pitch, and I guess one for the quizsters out there.
You'd answer it every time. You told me about it 10 times since we got here.
To be fair, I didn't even know it was Gladbach.
Good goal though, wasn't it?
It was a good goal, I'd have to admit.
Here is Boyata. We didn't expect to see him. Scott Sinclair, by the way, is also here for Manchester City, having got over his injury problems. Some transfer speculation surrounding him after a disappointing opening season at Manchester City, where he hardly got a look in.
Dante is such a positive influence at the back. He's so comfortable on the ball, and I think with his experience, he's made such a difference to this Bayern Munich back line.
As Thiago's long ball, trying to pick out Thomas Müller. They've left Mandzukic on the bench again tonight, despite him coming on making a bit of a difference against Sao Paulo, getting the breakthrough last night.
Well, I think this is his best side. I think definitely these are his best players, and I think he potentially might start the season like this. I think he might, fill the midfield and try and get runners in, because his best players are, mostly in midfield and in the winger position.
Here's Ribéry. And here's the player you were mentioning, Danche of Brazil, to Schweinsteiger. Thiago's linked with Manchester United, but said after moving here that he never ever spoke to Manchester United, which was interesting.
Well, he would have been a great addition to any of these sides, definitely. And I think coming to Bayern Munich, if I was him, I probably would have done the same. I think he's made the right decision.
Martinez forward to Tony Kroos. It's good to see him fit again. He had to miss the Champions League final and the run-in at the back end of last season because of a groin injury. Good player. Thiago's ball.
They're so flexible, all the midfielders and the wingers. You see so much rotation, and it's so difficult to defend against. And obviously, if you got attacking fullbacks like Lahm and Alaba, it makes it so difficult.
Here's Thiago. Kroos. Robin got the better of Nasri. This might be a tough night for Manchester City. They need their organisation and resilience here. Bayern bossing it early on. Ribéry lays it back. Kroos tries his luck, and Pantelimon turns it aside. Here's Kroos again.
Well, they've definitely started the better of the two sides. I think City is a little bit wary of the firepower that Bayern possess going forward.
Here's Ribéry again. Manchester City being penned in at the moment. Milner rather, doing the covering. And possession was lost by Fernandinho there in a dangerous area. Manchester City, who've been to South Africa first and then playing on that awful pitch in Hong Kong where they did win the Asia Cup against Sunderland with an Edin Dzeko goal. But this is something else again.
Well, this is obviously a step up in competition and atmosphere, and I think it would be great for Manchester City if they could win a second tournament this pre-season, especially against such a quality side like Bayern Munich.
Can't keep the ball at the moment. It was lost again there in the middle of the pitch quite quickly, and here's Ribéry. Boyata did well enough, stuck to his job.
I think in that instance you see the rotation of the wingers. I mean, Robin and Ribéry are the two widest players on the pitch, are supposed to be, and they're virtually standing next to each other on the edge of the box.
Ribéry with the corner kick. Schweinsteiger was in there attacking it. What a magnificent player he's been for Bayern Munich down the years. I remember when he was kind of like a right winger when he started, wasn't he?
He was a winger. He was a winger, and I think he's just developed into one of the best central midfield players in Europe.
Muller. Mistake by Pantelimon. Got themselves in a situation of their own making there, Manchester City at the back.
Well, they just can't seem to keep possession enough, and I think it's just sustained attack after attack, and I think they need to find a way to keep possession higher up the pitch.
They've hardly crossed the halfway line so far, Manchester City, and we're 11 minutes in.
That's the difficulty, obviously, playing against Bayern Munich, is that the fullbacks are so attacking. You see Alaba and Philipp Lahm are so far up the pitch, and they create so many opportunities and mismatches against their opponents.
Lahm back in familiar territory at right back tonight, the Bayern skipper. It's a free kick here to the home side. The league season starts in 8 nights' time at home here against Borussia Mönchengladbach. Before that, they've got a German Cup tie away to the Minnows Reden on Monday night. Played in by Robin. That's easy for Pantelimon, getting a chance in goal, which he didn't, of course. He didn't play in the FA Cup final. Everybody thought he would do last season, having played all the rounds. But then they played Joe Hart against Wigan at Wembley.
Well, it's difficult not to play Joe Hart. He's such a good goalkeeper, but Pantelimon is a great goalkeeper as well, and I think he'll get his games this season.
Yet to start a Premier League game after 17 months at the club. That's because Joe Hart always seems to be fit, ready, injured, and in form. Ribéry's ball again. Muller looking to break from those deep positions. Plenty of goals from him, 23 last season, 5 in 7 at the end of the last campaign, and 4 in pre-season.
Well, he's one of the most effective players I've ever seen. I think he finds a way to impact the game without being the most dynamic player. I think he takes up great positions. He's a great finisher, and his instincts are tremendous in and around the box.
Just another chance to look at that Tony Kroos effort from a couple of minutes ago, which Pantelimon gave the cameraman some good pictures anyway.
Comfortable save for a keeper like Pantelimon.
Danche won the header. Here's Schweinsteiger. Thiago, looking cool and composed and classy in that midfield. I think he'll be a good addition. Robben feeds it inside. Just can't get the ball at all at the moment, Manchester City. Robben twists unusually onto his right foot this time.
I think City need to find a way to put a bit more pressure once Bayern Munich's possession. It's a little bit too comfortable for Bayern Munich so far.
The City just can't get any grip at all in the middle of the pitch here, can they?
Well, they played yesterday as well, and it's going to be difficult. It's very warm. It's going to be difficult to press 2 days in a row. So I think they'll probably feel their way into this game. But so far, Bayern Munich has dominated.
Alaba. Crossfield ball by Danche. The bounce was unkind for Robben in the end. There's Pep Guardiola. I'm not sure whether he's wearing his orange pumps again tonight. He might be the first coach ever to wear those.
Well, I think obviously Bayern Munich is an Adidas club, and I think he might have been forced to wear them, in all honesty.
I'll bow to your superior knowledge of these commercial things, Owen.
Well, when at a big club like Bayern Munich, it's a massive part of it, definitely.
As is all the travelling that a lot of the clubs are doing across pre-season. 25,000 air miles for the big English clubs. Ribery, nice little 1-2 played with Kroos. Here's Lahm. Back to Robben again. Looking to hit one with that left foot. Typical Robben run.
Yeah, I think everybody in the stadium knew what was going to come, but I think even though everybody knows it, it's still very, very difficult to defend. And in the end, just leans back and just doesn't get over top of the ball at all.
Going this time last night, they were about 3-0 up, weren't they? Manchester City against AC Milan, a very depleted and off-form AC Milan. It was 5-0 just after the half-hour mark, and then weirdly 5-3 before half-time, and then there were no further goals. A typical pre-season fare, really.
Well, I just think it was so easy. They just got a little bit complacent, and it was a little bit of obviously a mistake from Javi Garcia for the first goal, and then it just kind of piled on from there. But the first 40 minutes, they looked tremendous.
They played some really tremendous stuff, and Jesus Navas, the right winger in particular, took the island. Jovetic was looking crafty, but here, of course, the attacking players are just not getting a kick so far for City.
They definitely need to find a way to get the ball back. I think they haven't put enough pressure, and I think the possession has been too comfortable, too easy. And as you see, the interchange between Alaba and Ribery and Lahm and Robben has been seamless.
Interesting to see what Manuel Pellegrini might try to do about this. Ribery going on and on. Probably could thread his way through everybody. By the way, the format here is we go 90 minutes. If it's still level, it goes to a straight penalty shootout. There's no extra time or anything like that.
I think this might be a little welcome break for the City players to get a little breather.
quite a lot of strength in reserve as well. Bayern Munich, including Mario Mandzukic, who scored in the Champions League final, Jerome Boateng, who started the Champions League final, and one or two less familiar names. I'm sure we might see a few of them later on. Here's Zabaleta, Manchester City's player of the season last year.
Manuel Neuer is so comfortable in possession with both feet. He gets the ball out of his feet so easily. And it's a great building block, as you can see, if you can pass the ball at the back so easily.
How do you think Guardiola will approach this job with Bayern Munich? Because the engine was running very, very smoothly with a treble last year. Will he just try to tweak it a little, or will he try to impose something of the Barcelona style?
Well, this very much has a Barcelona feel to it this side. No striker, a lot of possession in midfield, great wing play, and a lot of overlapping from the fullback. So I think so far it looks like a typical Barcelona side, but obviously it's still too early to tell.
Ribéry across to Lahm. Probing bags of possession. Can they find a goal here? Munich. Schweinsteiger looking to improvise. Müller hoping that would drop for a half volley. It didn't. Still him though.
Just lacking a little bit of width at the moment. I think obviously with having so much possession, everybody's coming inside. I think if they can keep Alaba and Philipp Lahm very wide, I think they'll have a bit of joy there. But everybody seems to be coming in the middle, and I think they could do with staying wide.
I was just thinking, it's been a bit like friends reunited for you here, isn't it, in Munich? And they remember your 4 titles and winning the Champions League with Bayern. And I can tell you still love this club, don't you?
Well, it's a great club. I mean, I came at 16, spent 10 years here, and obviously have a lot of friends. So it's very nice to come back, obviously in a little bit of a different capacity this time.
I thought they were going to offer you a game at one point down there earlier on. Clichy playing it down the line. Barry helps it forward. Here's Jovetic. He's arrived from Fiorentina, where he was a huge favourite. Ball given away again there rather cheaply by Manchester City. More pressure on that defence. Zabaleta coming across doing the covering. Pablo Zabaleta, who was married during the summer. Congratulations.
If you look at how much ground Alaba covers, it's remarkable. I mean, he's played yesterday and again today. He's only played 20 minutes, but he's put in a great shift already.
There's Thiago again. 3 goals from midfield in that European under-21 final. Spain, another exciting generation coming through by the look of it. Robin. Skip past Fernandinho, who's starting for the 2nd night running. He only played to half-time, mind you, yesterday.
Yeah, I think Pellegrini definitely had an eye on the final today, with Jovetic and Fernandinho only playing a half.
All Bayern, but not very much by way of clear-cut chances, to be fair to City's defending. And Manchester City have had the best defence in the Premier League for the last 3 seasons.
I'm not surprised. I mean, they have arguably one of the best goalkeepers, arguably one of the best centre-backs in Vincent Kompany. Zabaleta has been so consistent, and I think obviously with Mika Richards coming back this season, who I thought was probably arguably Manchester City's best player yesterday, he's going to be a great addition to that very strong back line.
It was good to see him fit again. Micah Richards, he scored as well. Here's Robin. Lahm on the overlap. Again, the defending is good enough. The skipper was there. He has missed a little bit of training recently. Nothing much to worry about. And fit enough to start here tonight.
And that's what happens, I think, you see, without a centre forward, often the players furthest forward are often the fullbacks, Philipp Lahm and Alaba, and I think they're going to be a great outlet for Bayern Munich again this season.
And here's the Bayern Munich corner, taken by Robben. Again, well defended by City. But it keeps on coming back again. And you see Bayern Munich, it's going to take a very, very good side to stop them again this year, you'd think.
Well, this is a very, very good Manchester City side, and they haven't even had a kick yet today, so it just shows the quality of Bayern Munich.
Kroos.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of heavy legs in this, obviously, without putting as much pressure as they probably would in a normal league game, because it's been too comfortable for Bayern Munich, and I just think they can't really get there. They've obviously had a heavy training camp, and then second game in 2 days is probably asking a little bit too much.
I think they've been one or two brutal training sessions, as there are, of course, for most players at this time of year.
Well, it's the most important thing, to lay the foundation for the season. I think if you do a good job of that, I think it carries on into the season, and then it's really just a lot of maintenance and regeneration in between games.
Did you like pre-season? Not many players do. Usually found it pretty hard work.
Yeah, I think unlike most players, I actually loved it. I mean, I love the physical part of it. I probably should have, in hindsight, I probably should have taken it a little bit easier during some of those pre-seasons. It might have shortened my career probably more than I would have thought.
Schweinsteiger on what is a beautifully balmy night here in southern Germany. Alaba, twice the Austrian player of the year, the youngster. Good understanding he has down this left-hand side now with Franck Ribéry.
Such a great understanding. These two last season, as well as Robben and Lahm, were so good. It's so difficult to defend against.
Danche. There are high hopes in this part of the world that Bayern Munich may be able to do what they did in the 1970s and win the European Cup stroke Champions League 3 years in a row. It was in the Beckenbauer time, of course. Offside flag up against Jovetic.
Well, nowadays it's proven very, very difficult. I don't think anybody has won the Champions League two years in a row for a very, very long time. So I think
it hasn't been retained, I don't think, has it, since
no,
they gained the Champions League?
I don't think so. So obviously they have the squad to do it, but I think there's so many great teams. It's going to be a very exciting Champions League this season.
And a very interesting Premier League as well, with all the managerial changes at the top.
I think from a fan's perspective, it's probably the most exciting time for the Premier League. I think last season probably wasn't as good a Premier League as we've seen in the last 3 or 4 years, but this season with all the changes, I think it's such a great time for all the fans involved.
Here's Ribéry again. Muller lays it back. Kroos always fancies his chances from longer distances. Picked out a clever ball, didn't he, there to Arjen Robben. Schweinsteiger, chip behind Muller, offside. Wouldn't have counted anyway. Flag was up straight away.
Well, it's a great ball from Schweinsteiger. He's always going to look for that pass going forward. Obviously he's offside, but again, they've shown that if they can get the ball in those positions into Robben and Ribéry, they are going to score goals.
There's Manuel Pellegrini, who took Malaga through to the quarter-finals of the Champions League last season, and they were pretty unlucky not to make it to the semis. That dramatic ending with the what looked like an offside goal for Borussia Dortmund, which made all the difference.
Well, he's done such a great job as a manager at all the places he's been, and he's probably never had a squad as talented as this. So to think of the success he's had with some of the teams that he's been at, I think it's something for the Manchester City fans to really look forward to.
Speaking in perfect English as well at the press conference, I noticed last night. He's with his 11th club now.
Well, he looks pretty calm on the bench there, considering they haven't really touch the ball at all, which I think is probably a good sign. He's very relaxed and very calm, and I think he has a strong belief, obviously, in the group of players that he has at his disposal.
And Manchester City just about in survival mode. Nothing more, I think, in this first half against this talented Bayern side. Here's Robben, and Pantelimon has to make another save. There might be another chance in here on that near post, but again, Manchester City's defending is good enough.
Great defending from Vincent Kompany. Obviously, Robben coming again inside on his left foot, which is surprised that he's able to do that. Good save from Pantelimon, and in the end, great defending from Vincent Kompany.
Lahm. Martinez was the player trying to get there, and he might have taken it away from Danche, who was behind him and waiting.
Well, it's a great cross, and obviously I think if Dante gives him a shout, which I'm sure he did, I think Martinez just, doesn't score many goals. I think he just got a little bit overexcited and tried to get his name on the score sheet, and he probably should have left it to Dante.
Looks like, doesn't it, that Javi Martinez will be used as a defender this season by Bayern Munich rather than in the defensive midfield role he filled last year. Of course, I think the joy for Guardiola is he can do both jobs pretty well.
Well, I think I think these three are probably the best three central midfield players they have: Schweinsteiger, Thiago and Kroos. And I think, although Martinez was probably the best player in the Champions League final, I think he probably will most likely play centre-back this season.
Fernandinho trying to get it in behind for Stefan Jovetic.
And I think that's obviously a similar tactic to what he did with Mascherano at Barcelona. I think you see a parallels there again, that he's taken a midfielder and brought him back to play centre-back.
Martinez did play in that position a few times as well for Bilbao when he was there. Muller on the chase, he won't catch that one. Of course, big year this one with the World Cup at the end of it, and Germany will fancy their chances after their European club domination, but they haven't won an international competition since 1996, since Euro 96.
Well, they seem to be getting a bit closer time and time again. They've got such a great group of players, great manager as well, and I think they'll definitely be one of the favourites come this summer.
As for England, we've just got to hope we qualify. For the moment, anyway. He's one of the players who certainly Roy Hodgson likes a lot, James Milner. Stayed in play for Zabaleta. Might be a bit more promising here for Manchester City. First time they've really managed to get forward. And Jovetic was very, very close there to giving Manchester City what would have been a shock lead.
Jovetic is terrific in and around the box. Probably not the quickest player, but so inventive in and around the box. Reminds me very much of Tevez, actually.
Some people knock his goal-scoring rate, Stefan Jovetic, but he did score 13 in Serie A last season. He was number 9 in the Italian scoring charts. He tends to play off the striker too, doesn't he? A bit deeper.
Well, I think we saw yesterday in combination with Edin Dzeko, they formed a great partnership, and I think that's going to be the only issue really for Manchester City, is to find the right balance between all those talented front players.
Alaba to Ribéry. Flag up. No breakthrough for Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, it's probably not a position James Milner wants to be in all night, because he's just chasing Alaba. He keeps overlapping, keeps making those runs, and for a wide midfield player it's very, very difficult when you're having to defend all the time.
The problem, isn't it, for Pep Guardiola is how do you improve on perfection after Jupp Heynckes won everything?
Well, you
last
don't.
Season.
you don't.
Kroos, good ball. Ribéry in behind here. Muller's attacking it and came right the way across goal without anybody applying the touch.
I think we saw that yesterday. Ribéry played quite well, but his end product was was a little bit disappointing. I think again their end product was a little bit disappointing, but great defending from Clichy and company to come back, and if the cross came to them, they would have dealt with it comfortably.
Well, they've seen very little of the ball, Manchester City here, but they do still retain parity.
Well, I think I've had about as many touches as Negredo has.
You might only need one, that would be his answer.
Well, he's that good, he probably, that's all he needs.
Certainly that's what the City fans would be hoping for. I think there is a definite feeling in the City camp, and nobody's trying to disguise it. It was a little disappointing, their defence of the title last season. Finished 11 points adrift of Manchester United in the end. And just the occasional days where they just didn't seem to turn up, and the FA Cup final was certainly one of those, as well as Wigan played.
Yeah, I think from a sheer talent perspective, I think Manchester City is definitely one of the best sides in the Premier League. But I think obviously last season there were some issues, other issues, that probably contributed to them probably not winning the Premier League again.
Here's Robin taking on Clichy. Barry did good work there, making sure he was in that little gap that Robin likes to explode into onto his left foot. Kroos. Same pattern resumes. Manchester City behind the ball. Bayern trying to find a way through, and again Vincent Kompany's covering back there, his knowledge of where to turn up. Spot on.
Well, they seem to be getting in that position time and time again so easy. I think if they keep allowing that, I think if the end product is right, then it's definitely going to be a goal. I think fortunately Man City has Vincent Kompany back there.
Is it just a matter of time? Schweinsteiger. It's neither one thing nor the other, really, the header in the end.
Well, it's probably the first good corner we've seen today, actually. It's a good ball in, and I think he's in between two thoughts, whether she could go back across goal or try and head it back post.
Was he heading for goal there, trying to just nestle it into that far corner, do you think?
I think he was, yeah. And I think he knows he's not the greatest header of the ball, and I'm not sure why he's even in the box, in all honesty.
Wants a birthday goal, doesn't he? Certainly a good workout, this, for Manchester City. Good test. It might tell Manuel Pellegrini significant things about where one or two of the players are. Of course, the real business is getting ready for the start of the Premier League season, which begins against Newcastle United in Manchester City's case. Then they play newly promoted Cardiff and Hull. And their fifth Premier League game is the Manchester Derby at home, late September. Schweinsteiger's ball. Alaba. One thing Manchester City have been here is well organised defensively. Nasri, the brakes on here if they're quick enough. Jovetic. Can they get more men up in support of it? Not many so far. Jovicic's feet were very good there. Fernandinho, Negredo. Nearly found Jovetic attacking the near post. That's better from Manchester City. And then way off target from Gaël Clichy.
Yeah, I think they would I think Jovetic showed his invention there again. I think obviously a weak shot from Clichy, but I think Jovetic in and around the box, if they can get him the ball to feet, I think it's going to be a great asset to them. I just think they're lacking a little bit of numbers going forward, and I think there, even though I think it was a 6v3, and Jovetic just made something out of nothing, really.
I think the City fans, and probably the rest of us as well, would like to see Navas getting a run a bit later. Dazzling old-fashioned right winger.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that Manchester City's bench is definitely better than Bayern Munich's bench today, and I look forward to seeing some of these players come on. Navas, Dzeko, David Silva.
Aguero is listed, but I can tell you, because I've spoken to the City people, he isn't actually here. He's arrived back with a bit of a sore knee from the Hong Kong tournament. It's nothing much at all, they say, but they just weren't going to risk him here.
Well, I think that's the most important thing in these pre-season friendlies is to get the players fitter, but the most important thing is that you don't get any injuries, because before the season you want to try and have your strongest squad available.
Of course, they don't have Yaya Toure out there tonight, but he did the full 90, didn't he, last night? So we thought he wouldn't start, but it does make a difference always when he's not around. Clichy misjudged that. Robin took advantage, but again, Company is there.
I think Company's been City's best player so far, and as regards to Yaya Toure, I think he's, in my opinion, probably the best central midfield player in the Premier League, and I think on his day he's virtually unstoppable. He can do so many things, and I think he's, although he's not probably the loudest player, he's just such a positive influence on the team, and I think having him and Fernandinho, David Silva, that axis is going to be very, very good.
Kept in play by Milner. Seemed to be seen mostly as a substitute, certainly for parts of last season, by Roberto Mancini. Milner. Here's Thiago.
Yeah, I've been in that place like James Milner. When you're flexible and good at so many positions, it's difficult to decide, for the man to decide what's your best position. I think James Milner's a little bit in that place. He does such a good job in so many positions.
And Muller was going for the header. He's good in the air as well. They're not quite that good. There's Edin Dzeko, full of goals pre-season. Got a couple last night as well, including the winner in the Asia Cup during the pre-season.
Oh, he's a great player, and I think he's very well liked in Germany as well, after having such a great spell at Wolfsburg. And I think he's going to have a terrific season this season for Manchester City.
I was going to say, he could have a new lease of life, couldn't he? I mean, a lot of people thought he'd be sold this summer until Roberto Mancini left and the new man took over. So I think everything's up for grabs a little bit for those striking positions. Here's Kroos taking it over here for Munich. Ribéry.
No, it's a great tackle.
Well, it looked like that.
Such a great tackle.
It's a yellow card as well for Cedric Boyata for that. That's one of those 20 years ago. The pros who were playing 20 years ago will say that was a brilliant piece of defending. Today, this is a booking. Let's have a look. See. Well,
I mean, you can't get a cleaner tackle. I mean, I've seen that for me. I don't know how the referee has seen that, considering he's standing next to it.
That's a nonsense, isn't it, Owen?
Well, he's obviously gone over on his ankle a little bit after, but in the end, I mean, that is a great tackle, and I think all players just love to see, good, hard physical play.
I think 1983, 2013, that's a great challenge.
And he booked him.
Yes. To add insult to injury. Kroos is going to hit this. It's well defended. It's coming here to Lahm. Robin said that took a deflection off somebody.
That's better. Clichy needs to be in these positions. That's brilliant. Now they just need to get players in the box.
Cut back in, Negredo! Just snatched at it rather, didn't he?
I mean, that's the Manchester City that we're used to seeing. I think Clichy getting forward, but I think obviously Negredo, I think that's probably his greatest strength in finishing, and he needs to do better there. I mean, it's a great ball in, and you'd fancy him to score there.
Only Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo and Radamel Falcao of Atletico Madrid scored more than Negredo in La Liga last season.
Well, that's pretty good company.
Yeah. Falcao, who's gone to Monaco for a lot of money during the summer. Danche's long ball, too straight really, never going to be a problem.
Well, I think just coming up to half-time, I think City will probably be quite pleased that it's still 0-0 and they can go in and probably make some changes.
I think definitely make some changes. This is, after all, a pre-season event.
Again, a better position for Milner to be in. Zabaleta overlapping.
Milner. Fernandinho. Nasri. Negredo! Oh, big chance on the near post. Straight at Manuel Neuer.
Great piece of play as well. Great piece of play. Fernandinho, great switch of play. Great cross in from Nasri. And Negredo again, another great opportunity. He hasn't hit it clean, it's come off his shoulder. And I think again he'll be a little bit disappointed that he hasn't done better.
Big opportunity for that, for Manchester City. And the new man, Alvaro Negredo. Here's Milner. City just beginning to find a little more of a foothold in things. And another header from the same player, Negredo, and he still can't find the target. City will be hoping he's saving them up for the Premier League.
Well, the service again is tremendous. Step over from Milner with his left foot, and it's a terrific ball in. And he just needs to do it again. He needs to do better. It's a bit of a weak header considering the position that he's in.
Nevertheless, I think Manuel Pellegrini will be encouraged that his side have carved out 2 or 3 pretty presentable opportunities. Couple for Negredo, that shot from Jovetic, which whistled narrowly wide.
And that's all come from having possession higher up the pitch. I think if they can find a way to keep the ball and get numbers forward, I think they can get back in this game. But I think, again, it's another good position for Nasri to be in.
Ribéry, no way through there.
There's not many people in the world who beat Clichy for pace.
That's it. Manchester City have kept a clean sheet. They didn't have much of the possession, but it was Manuel Neuer who had to make the saves at the end of the half there as City just began to grow in confidence. The half-time score here in this fascinating pre-season prestige event, the Audi Cup final. It's Bayern 0, Manchester City 0.
Thanks, gentlemen. So, should Manchester City really be tired? How can they set themselves up to be more effective in the second half? And who's caught Michael Owen's eye for all the wrong reasons? Join us for some analysis and the second half shortly. Welcome back to BT Sport 1. Just to let you know, plenty of live sport coming your way over the weekend. We are making history. The first ever SPFL game to kick off will kick off on BT Sport 1. Partick Thistle up against Dundee United. And then 2 of the big names of English football. Liverpool up against Olympiacos and Steven Gerrard's testimonial. And Arsenal versus Napoli in the Emirates Cup. Both of those games coming your way on Saturday. Right, let's try and dissect that. Rather odd first half in some ways, because we were talking about, or the commentators were talking about Manchester City being tired. We saw a stat that showed us Man City had less than 30% possession at one point, yet they seem to have had the best chances actually when we look back at that half.
Yeah, a real dominant first half by Bayern Munich. I think we have to point out Bayern had 9 players who started the game against Sao Paulo. Manchester City only had 2, so I don't think there's any reason to be tired. We were talking about tiredness after 20 minutes, which is ridiculous, but for all the possession, for all the play, for all the lovely, intricate passing skills from the Bayern side, this chance from Negredo was the best chance. This is his chance to show the world what a centre forward is. And
what a game to do it in.
I know we mentioned before, has he got the quality, and that just come off his shoulder, and to a certain extent that does as well. Yeah. But the first one was the best effort of the game, and he should have buried it.
Really,
I know the man sitting next to me, he would have scored.
Well, for a striker joining a big club and making a big move like this, to score in a game like that, what would it have done for him, Michael?
Oh, it would have been great. I mean, it's a difficult chance in many ways. It's probably the best chance of the game, but when you're just past that near post, you're only looking for a slight glance.
Yeah.
You know, you can't get too much off.
Not a glance off your shoulder,
yeah,
ideally.
But when you're only going for a slight glance, then obviously, you know, it's more risk. And I've scored many goals off my shoulder. Sometimes they flick off my shoulder and go in, Yeah,
OK. Well, let's talk about Zabaleta. We've mentioned the fact that we've been talking about Man City being tired. Is this a case of Zabaleta being out of position or out of condition?
More mentally asleep. I mean, that is just as bad as it gets. The first thing you have to do is protect your centre-halves as a full-back. And he's just so far out of position, it's unbelievable. I mean, this is probably where he's at his best. You know, he tracks the 1-2, he fails with the tackle, but he's back into position, and he's good when, you know, man-to-man, but his positional sense. I mean, here's another one, he's out wide, and then he slows down, and he just doesn't know what's around him, and, you know, a couple of goals could have come from his bad position in this first half.
Does it tell us as much, though, about the movement of Bayern Munich?
Well, it does. I mean, Bayern Munich are playing with almost a false centre-forward. We were talking earlier about the Barcelona way, really. Now, Manchester City are playing with two strikers, and they have hardly had a kick until the last 3 or 4 minutes. I mean, I can't for the life of me understand why they just don't drop a man into midfield just for 5 minutes, just to get a foothold in the game. I mean, Bayern were just passing it round them for 40 minutes of that first half, and it really was a game of possession for them.
Yeah, well, there was plenty of pressure coming their way, and what they were looking for was the goalkeeper trying to alleviate that. But at times, he was almost bringing the pressure back on the team, wasn't he, with some of his distribution?
Exactly. I mean, he's made a fantastic save there very early on in the game. But when your team's under pressure, especially in that first 7 or 8 minutes, what you want to do is keep things tight, sort of start from the back. He takes this opportunity here, quick early kick, straight back into Bayern Munich's possession, and then the pressure keeps mounting. The back pass, the team are hoping the ball goes down the field. It's a bad touch, and again, you're putting your team under pressure, giving Bayern the confidence. And obviously with the likes of Joe Hart, who is a fantastic kicker of the ball, they're so used to that that's a goal kick. I've kicked longer goal kicks this season than that.
You've thrown longer balls than that?
Not from goal throws. But it puts your team under pressure, and as you say, it's a big game. You've got new players. It's a changing lineup from the beginning. Are you not impressed by him? He saves shots, but one of the questions people ask me, what do you think of him as a goalkeeper? He's a great shot stopper. That's what they're supposed to do. But the distribution side of the game is such a massive part now.
Will he put pressure on Joe Hart for the number one shirt this year? And I think the answer's a
one-word answer.
No.
No.
There you go. Right, we're going to go to a quick break, after which we'll be straight back to Munich to discuss why Owen Hargreaves thinks Manchester City are a bit tired. Join us in just a second.
BT Sport presents a double dose of international football. The rivalry between the old enemy is fierce at any level. And the under-21s are in action as England take on Scotland.
Oh, super goal.
Then it's the boys from Brazil.
Really well taken goal.
The Samba Stars play Switzerland.
It's game on.
Don't miss this international double bill live on BT Sport 1.
Welcome back to a small slice of history, the first ever live football match here on BT Sport 1, and what a match it is. Manchester City holding their own against the champions of Europe, Bayern Munich. And in the stadium for us this evening, Ian Darke alongside Owen Hargreaves. An entertaining first half, gentlemen. We'll come to you in just a second, but first, David James is very keen to put his case as to why Manchester City shouldn't really be tired 20 minutes into this match.
Hi, chaps. Owen, we're just saying in here that with just a couple of weeks of the season to start, and the way that sports science has taken over in football, the Manchester City players shouldn't be tired, really, given the sort of close season programmes they have, the fact that they are much fitter than they used to be. I think that's possibly not the right description of what's happening. He hasn't heard me, has he?
He's heard
Go
you.
on,
What do you think, Owen?
He's saying that basically City shouldn't be tired.
Well, I think they're definitely tired. They've obviously had a long pre-season. They had a game yesterday, and I think the most important thing is in this second half is that they can find a way to keep possession a little bit higher up the pitch. I think they just had to run without the ball too much, and they're probably not going to enjoy that very much.
They've done a lot of flying as well, haven't they? South Africa, Hong Kong on a heavy pitch. Back here, some of them played last night, some of them didn't. It might be a factor, it might not, but I think overall they'd be quite happy with this so far, wouldn't they?
I think towards the end of the first half, they really came into it and had some possession higher up the pitch and had some chances as well. I think if Negredo takes them, they could easily be up. But Bayern Munich dominated for 40 minutes and looked as good a side as they did last season.
We think Jesus Navas and Yaya Toure are among those about to come on. Navas will be interesting, won't he?
Well, two great changes. I think, obviously, I spoke about Yaya before. He's a terrific player. Navas is going to be an out-and-out winger, which City didn't have before. And hopefully they can create some more chances going forward, keep a bit more possession. And obviously with company at the back there, he's keeping it clean sheet for them.
So we're ready to go at the start of the second half here. Manchester City in their traditional light blue shirts. Jesus Navas will be out on the right wing, and he might give David Alaba something to think about out there. He's very, very quick. He's always in the Spain squad. He doesn't often start because Del Bosque sees him mainly as a substitute, but that might change. I think he's a player who might give Manchester City a bit of a different dimension if he's at his best this season.
Definitely. They haven't had a natural winger. I think all the players who played on the wing have been players who kind of played different positions, as we talked about before. Milner, now he's gone from the right, he's come on the left. Nasri's going to play in behind Negredo. And obviously I think that's probably the strongest pairing that they have at the moment, with Fernandinho and Yaya Toure in central midfield.
Because they had Adam Johnson there, but he didn't get too much of a look in, and Scott Sinclair even less last season. So wingers and Manchester City in recent times hasn't quite worked out one way or another.
Well, I think when you're as talented as Navas is, he's definitely going to play a lot of games this season. I think he's going to be very key for the strikers in getting crosses in and using that speed and getting at defenders and going out 1v1, a little bit like Robin does.
Bayern Munich so close to the start of their season, and you get the feeling with him picking more or less the full strength side here, Pep Guardiola, that they're ready to go right now. This is almost kind of dress rehearsal mode for the real thing.
I think this was definitely a cameo for the first game of the season. I'm almost sure he'll start the first game of the Bundesliga in this formation. As you see, Alaba overlapping again.
Here's Ribéry, tries to play a 1-2 with Robben. He's had such a roller coaster career with Bayern Munich, but a stellar career, you'd have to say, as well. A couple of titles with Chelsea, don't forget as well. Here's Thiago, clever. Some very, very good footballers out there. Milner broke it up. Bayern Munich get it back again. Quickly, too quickly as far as City were concerned. Here's Lahm.
This is where Bayern need a little bit of width. That's the right ball.
Looks a bit too long. Robin has to play go fetch. Two goals against Dortmund in the Super Cup for Arjen Robben. And these fans really enjoying the night here. You told me earlier, every game in the Bundesliga here this season's already a sellout.
It's already sold out. I think obviously with the excitement of the way they performed last season and the new players joining in, Götze and obviously Guardiola, it's a very exciting time for Bayern Munich.
Dortmund will push them again, though, I think.
Definitely. I think Dortmund has strengthened the side very, very well. And it's definitely going to be a two-horse race again, a little bit like Spain, I guess.
Here's Yaya Toure. He had to stiffen that midfield. Played all the 90 minutes against AC Milan yesterday. Clichy looking to curve one in behind for Nasri. He's got him behind. Samir Nasri can put City ahead here, but he doesn't. Neuer does enough.
Such a great ball from Clichy, and yet again we talked about it, having possession a little bit higher up the pitch. Clichy has probably created the two best chances again, as he did in the first half. And I think if the fullbacks can be higher up the pitch, it bodes very, very well, whether for Bayern Munich or for Manchester City as well. Such a great ball from Clichy. Martinez a little bit caught out of position. Good save from Neuer, but in the end, Nasri probably could have gone around the keeper, taken a touch to the left, and he probably would have walked around him and tapped it into an empty net.
They have had their chances here, Manchester City. No question about that.
Quietly dangerous on the break, definitely.
Milner looking for fast break, almost playing this as if it was an away game in Europe in the Champions League. And of course, City didn't do well in the Champions League.
Another
last
overlap.
year.
You should have played him in.
Ribéry. Kroos.
I think that might be one of the only criticisms of Ari and Robben. He's such a great offensive player one-on-one, but he's obviously not seeing the overlap from Philipp Lahm. He's in a great position, and you probably can go in and take a touch and probably have a shot on goal. Guardiola has got those Adidas on, just a different colour tonight.
He can probably afford the odd pair of shoes, pumps.
Not sure he's paying for them.
Here's Lahm again. Big player across to Germany as well at the World Cup. They're bound to qualify, they always do. Way clear in their qualifying group. Here's the Schweinsteiger.
As you see, you got the width on the other side again. You got Robben and Ribéry. I think if they can find a switch of play, it will definitely open things up. I think obviously both teams are so comfortable in possession. They always try and play through the middle, but I think the width is where the space has been.
And towards Negredo, who didn't win the header. A couple of them on goal tonight have come off his shoulder, unfortunately.
I think the greatest part of his game is probably his left foot and his striking of the ball. Obviously, he's definitely going to have to work on his heading, because he's had a couple of great opportunities this evening.
Zabaleta is a first involvement for Navas. Finds a great ball. Offside is given against Nasri, who does put the ball in the back of the net, but the flag was up a long time before.
But as you see again with the overlap, Zabaleta plays it in, overlaps. Navas comes inside, a little bit of turn of pace, and it's a good pass, but he's just a little bit offside, but much more positive for Manchester City again.
Ribéry skipped inside Zabaleta very easily. Muller given no change by the excellent Vincent Kompany.
Again, if he would have got his head up and had a switch of play for Robben in the wide areas, there's so much opportunity. To get Robben in a one-on-one here would be perfect.
Still no change from Bayern Munich. As we said, I think they're treating this as a dress rehearsal. Robben plays it inside. Schweinsteiger. Kroos with the cross. Headed back. Robben with the header. And hooked away.
A little bit of an unconventional clearance from Fernandinho.
He's in the right place. Not exactly the clearance he had in mind, you're right.
Well, again, I think if the service is a little bit better, I think that there's opportunities there.
Alaba towards Ribéry. It was about this time last night against Sao Paulo, who defended very, very well, that in the end Bayern broke them down.
Well, it's a great ball from Alaba again. I think willing runners going forward is always difficult for defenders, and I think that's probably been the theme of the night tonight. Fullbacks have probably had the biggest impact on the game, passing the ball and creating chances for both sides.
Bayern Munich, incidentally, in action soon at the end of August in the European Super Cup against Chelsea. Looking at the Champions League winners and the Europa League winners from last season.
I think that's a little cameo of Navas' pace. Alaba is such a great athlete, and I think Navas outpaced him there, which is going to be a great addition to the squad.
Here's Zabaleta. Nasri, Negredo's waiting in the middle. Deeper still is Milner. Negredo!
Great
Another
save.
chance and a point-blank range save from Neuer. Won't go in for him, will it?
Well, it's another brilliant cross. Great play from Zabaleta. Nasri, great cross, and I mean the keeper was a little bit lucky. Obviously it's a good save, but it's just hits him from close range, and Negredo again is definitely got to do better.
Nasri again, and offside, flags up against Negredo this time. I mean, the plus from City's point of view about this, they're not going in, but he is on the end of all these chances.
Absolutely. I mean, he's had 4, you could argue, 100% chances. He hasn't really taken them, but that was a good header. But from that close range, he should find the back of the net. But I think you're right, that they're even creating chances is a positive thing.
Neuer back to the day job after you might have seen the publicity, being the voice of frightening Frank McKay in the German version of the Disney movie Monsters University. So he's got an alternative career apart from being a very good goalkeeper, Neuer.
I guess he's looking for extra work.
He might find it as well.
That's the first time I've ever heard of a professional athlete doing voiceovers for a Disney film.
Oh, he might catch on. Don't give him ideas.
I think that might be his agents doing more than anything.
Danche helping it forward. Alaba down this left-hand side. Ribéry very closely policed. And there's going to be the first couple of changes here. We are going to see Mario Mandzukic, who came on and scored quite quickly last night, wearing the number 9, and the busy little Xherdan Shaqiri, the Swiss international midfield player.
I spoke to somebody at Bayern Munich today, and they said Shaqiri, Guardiola has the idea to potentially play him as a backup left fullback, which I find quite a surprise. But he's a great technical player in behind the strikers, and Mandzukic had a great season last season. Probably not the greatest goal scorer, but a great worker for the team.
Thiago and Arjen Robben coming off.
It was a very comfortable cameo from Thiago. I think it was very easy for him. He kept the ball very well, kept it neat and tidy, and probably in the end it wasn't too difficult for him today.
Clichy turning away from Muller and then chipping it into the path of Milner, who's come out to the left-hand side now. We have to keep our wits about us in this phase of the game, because it's a cast of thousands, or seems like that in some of these pre-season friendlies, with all manner of changes and musical chairs as the coaches use many players from the bench. Here's Shaqiri. Robben towards Mandzukic.
Great defending from Zabaleta and company again. I think Fernandinho's clipped Cruz earlier on in the play. Definitely looked like a late tackle.
And Cruz has stayed down as well.
You hope it wasn't in a friendly. But we talked about it earlier. I think he brings a bit of a physical presence to the Manchester City side, which is something they'll need, because I think in Europe they showed that they couldn't really find a way to get the ball back at times.
Well, they replaced Nigel de Jong effectively with Javi Garcia, didn't they, in the squad last season? It didn't quite work out. They missed de Jong a bit, didn't they?
Well, de Jong, I think he was a huge part of the success. He just clipped his...
What are they doing there, Owen?
It's just ice, frozen water, basically. He's obviously just stood on his toe, and the boots are so... He's obviously got studs on, and it's just opened up his boot, and he's...
They're very lightweight, aren't they, the boots these days? Some people say it's too thin, so why you're getting more of these metatarsal injuries.
Well, they've changed that now because there were so many injuries. They've reinforced the bottom of the boot with a bit of carbon fibre, so there is no bend in the boot. The boots have become very, very light, like any of the athletic equipment on the market nowadays.
I think Kroos is going to come off. They're not going to take any risk with that. Still limping a little bit. Straight away, the changes. Rafinha is going to come on. The
Lamb's going to play centre mid again.
Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, that's what happened last night. Rafinha played it right back, and Lahm moved into midfield, and that's what they're doing now. So that might be more than just a little passing flirtation of an idea by Pep Guardiola to give Lahm a few games in that area.
Well, I don't see the point. I think he's got tremendous midfield players in Thiago, Cruz and Schweinsteiger, and he's got the best right back in the world playing central midfield. I don't really see the point unless he's trying to make something out of nothing, but in the end, who's to say he's wrong?
Here's Navas. Likes a shot, doesn't score many, but likes a shot.
But it was a great run from Nasri just to open up the play to allow Navas to come inside and have a shot, and I think that's what it shows. You know, the willing running of fullbacks or wingers has such a positive impact on the rest of the team, whether you receive possession or not.
Navas played nearly 400 games for Sevilla. When he left, he made a point of signing autographs for everybody waiting as by way of a farewell for 3 hours. And always says that the club will hold a big place in his heart forever. A player who had a lot of problems with anxiety and homesickness, didn't he, earlier on in his career? Happily, he's put all that behind him. That's why he's been able to make the move to Manchester now.
Well, that's a great thing to hear about a player giving back a little bit to the fans. I think it says probably a lot about his character as a person, and he's obviously trying to give back even though he's left, which is a great thing. Great position from Shaqiri to receive the ball in there.
Rafinha comes towards Muller on the near post. Again, Company has been outstanding back there tonight. There was a feeling he wasn't quite at his best for one reason or another last season. Negredo here on the chase against Javi Martinez. It's Negredo, he was stronger and he scored! Negredo gets his first goal in a Manchester City shirt. That's what he's about.
Well, it's such a great piece of defending from Vincent Kompany on the one end. Quick counter-attack. A great ball into Negredo, and you think he surprised a bit of people with a little bit of turn of pace. Gets away from Javi Martinez in a very, very cool finish with his right foot. As you see, he gets away from Martinez. He has to do a little bit better, but a great finish, and there's not much Neuer can do.
In off the inside of the post. He's had his chances. None of them would go in, but this is perfectly done. The placement is excellent.
Well, I think Martinez needs to do better. He's in a position of strength. I think if he bumps Negredo while they're running, or just a little bump, I think it would have made the difference.
He winched there. You got that shot of Pep Guardiola. Oh no.
Well, I think they've probably been the better side. I think City have had some very, very good chances. Looked dangerous on the break. And I think you'll see Bayern come back into this a little bit, even though they've made a couple of changes. Schweinsteiger's just gone off.
They've had a lot of the ball. Have they been a little punchless here, Bayern Munich?
You could argue, yeah. I mean, if you look at the midfield three now, you've got Kirchhoff, who's just come on, who's a new signing from Frankfurt. Philipp Lahm and Shaqiri. It's not the greatest midfield three that they have at their disposal.
And that goal might put one or two doubts in Pep Guardiola's mind about Javi Martinez as a central defender. He was outpaced and outmuscled, wasn't he?
Well, he just made the wrong decision. If he bumps him, I think he throws Negredo up and he can't really have a comfortable finish. But I think the problem was a little bit before. Kompany heads the ball away. Nasri gets it, basically takes a couple touches and plays it in behind. It's far, far too easy for a team of Bayern's caliber.
Makes it very interesting. Lahm wide. Here's Rafinha.
See, the width is so important here. This is where they need the width again.
They don't have Robben on this side to provide it anymore. And Bayern Munich, it might be a pre-season friendly tournament, but they want to win in their own stadium going into the season, especially after that little setback in the German Super Cup against Dortmund last weekend, being beaten 4-2 by their big rivals.
But I think they've shown enough in these two games to show that they're on track. I think the season starts in a week. This has been a little cameo for what's to come next week, and obviously the result would be better if they won the game. But I think they played well yesterday, and they played well enough today.
Alaba. And Mandzukic retains possession. Shaqiri tries to turn on it. And the effort came in from the new signing, Jan Kirchhoff, who's playing the holding role in midfield at the moment.
Not a surprise. Vincent Kompany cleaning up again at the back. I think Last season he was tremendous. The season before he was again, and tonight he's looked unstoppable.
Here's Kirchhoff, gangling figure, can play in defensive midfield.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's going to be an option for them in the season. I'm not sure he offers enough. Obviously he's a very young player, but I don't think he's technically as good as the rest of them.
He's arrived from Mainz, where he made 18 league appearances last season. They're going to make more changes in a moment. Bayern Munich as well. Muller, and we're going to see Daniel van Buiten.
Well, those are pretty negative changes, if anything.
And Jerome Boateng, yeah, a couple of defenders. Mandzukic claiming a handball there against Zabaleta, and it's been given. Penalty.
That is a terrible decision. I mean, he's not even looking. I mean, it's just a reaction. He's not looking at the ball. I think his arm just goes up. He heads the ball first. He's not looking. He can't see it. How can he give a penalty if he can't see it?
Well, it's not deliberate handball, but the arm being in the unnatural position is, I think, why the referee would give the penalty kick. I don't think Zabaleta knew he was going to handle it. It's going to be Thomas Muller anyway with the penalty kick here against Kostal Pentelimon. And it is 1-1. Unfortunate from a City point of view, but Bayern Munich are level.
Well, I actually find it very disappointing. I think this is an instance where referees show that they haven't played the game, because there's nothing Zabaleta, obviously a cool finish from Muller, but there's nothing Zabaleta can really do about it. He's not even looking. It's just a reflex. And I hate to see penalties given like that. There's so many handball penalties given nowadays, and I think it's something the authorities should really look into addressing.
I'd like to see more clarification of what is defined as deliberate handball specifically. I think that is and remains a bit of a grey area.
Well, unless he's a magician, there's no way he could have meant that.
Here's Ribéry. Shaqiri.
Wow.
Shaqiri hit the post last night, and the rebound was put into the net by young 19-year-old Mitchell Weiser, scoring the second goal.
I actually played against his dad, actually, Patrick Weiser. I think that's his son. It's a great finish from Shaqiri, and I think it's a shame. He's such a good player. He's probably going to struggle to get games at Bayern Munich this season.
Nasri's got in behind here. Negredo's supporting. Nasri went alone in the end. Negredo wanted that fed into him. They keep looking as if they're going to score every time they do manage to get forward here, Manchester City. How many chances have they carved out now?
Well, when you think about how easy they've created some of their chances, it's one ball from Zabaleta, and he's virtually in again. Manuel Neuer does such a great job of cleaning up at the back. He's almost like a old school sweeper in a way.
Rafinha. Now this has been played at a good tempo and with reasonable intensity, bearing in mind it is a pre-season game. The start of the Premier League still 18 days away for Manchester City, who start against Newcastle, of course.
Well, I think City can be probably quite pleased with the way they've defended. I think Piazza's done quite well. He hasn't looked out of place at all. I think the only area of concern was probably early on in the game. The first 40 minutes, they struggled to keep possession.
Clichy took it quickly. Ribéry and Shaqiri playing keep ball between each other. Same towards Lahm, of all people. Company's back header made sure he didn't profit. Lahm didn't score all last season in 47 games.
Well, from what I remember, he doesn't score many, but when he does, the great goals, he's such an intelligent player.
I remember him scoring a great one at the 2006 World Cup. Yeah. Shaqiri with the corner for Bayern Munich. Pantelimon does get it away. Comes out to Rafinha. Ribéry, I should say, is robbed on that far side. Milner assessing the options. Fernandinho. Played nearly 200 games for Shakhtar Donetsk, who are a pretty wealthy club in Ukraine. Ribéry. Too good for Zabaleta there. Mandzukic tried to play him in again. It was nice play that by Bayern Munich with a bit of extra creativity thrown in.
Well, if he just dummies that Mandzukic and lets it run to Philipp Lahm, he probably has an opportunity to take a shot on goal. In the end, I think the decision-making in the final third has probably impacted Bayern Munich.
Fernandinho wide to Gael Clichy. He certainly had his hands full, didn't he, in that FA Cup final against Callum McManaman of Wigan Athletic. He'd be glad he doesn't have to face him every week.
Well, it was a brilliant performance. It's a shame he got injured in the game because I think he was going on to do great things.
Navas, another winger. Milner was attacking that towards the near post. Manchester City had carried a threat, and this fella might give them a bit more of a threat. Edin Dzeko. It's an attacking move that by City.
Good to see him come on. I think they need it. I think the grader will come off. Dzeko will be the focal point of the attack, with Nasri and Milner a little bit in behind, obviously with Navas out wide right.
Dzeko scored 4 in his last 3 appearances pre-season, as well as missing a penalty against Sunderland.
That's too easy.
Lahm. Ribéry, getting just a little more stretch. Ribéry causing a few more problems on that side now. Clichy's defending, good enough. Shaqiri.
City have defended the crosses so well tonight. I think in the first instance there as well, from cross from Ribéry, and again I think Kompany has virtually defended the majority of them on his own.
Boateng's crossfield ball. Muller, the goal scorer, and it's 2-1.
As I say that, great delivery from Muller.
Beautifully worked that by Bayern Munich, and Manchester City's lead has dissolved. Jerome Boateng arriving.
Well, I think what it shows when the great ball out wide, when good touch, and when the cross is very good. I think Boyata can get there, he misses it, and it's just a very good little finish. I think you can see here Boyata probably should get there, he just misses it, and it's a great header. I thought Boateng nicked it, but it was actually a great header from Mandzukic.
It might have been Mandzukic who got the last touch on that, yeah.
Great header. And I think what that shows is when the end product is very good, which it hasn't been tonight, except for that instance, then I think you'll score goals.
Just stepped it up a little as the game's become a bit more stretch here. Bayern Munich 2-1 in the back box seat. Navas. Nasri supporting him. Here's Navas again. Too long for Milner.
It's quite remarkable to see Mandzukic as centre forward, probably the last defender, and including for a corner. I think Navas has shown since he's come on that he gets at defenders and puts in some good crosses. I think it's really a great addition to the Manchester City attacking.
Negredo's come off. Dzeko comes on.
It's not a free kick. Well, the ref probably hasn't had the greatest game. He's given a free kick and a yellow card that wasn't one. He's given a penalty that wasn't one.
Yeah, It was Mandzukic who got there, although Boateng stuck out the leg.
On the short time that he's played yesterday and today, he's proved to be very, very effective. And I think if they choose to play with a striker, it's probably definitely going to be Mandzukic. I think they could probably do with another striker if they could. Obviously Lewandowski was the number one option, but he probably won't come again until next summer.
And Mario Gomez has gone to Fiorentina.
But they have Götze to come, which is going to be another great addition. So be interesting to see how he plays all these pieces.
Here is Mandzukic. Muller let it run. And Shaqiri! Pantelimon with a good save. Narrowed the angle well, beat it away.
I think Shaqiri almost strikes it too clean. In the end, it's a good save from Pantelimon, but one he needs to make.
Nasri was fouled by Rafinha.
Great feed from Nasri.
There's a different feel to this now. They've just stepped it up a gear, haven't they? Bayern Munich, since going behind. Manchester City will argue, I'm sure, that the change in the game has turned on that handball decision against Pablo Zabaleta.
Yeah, normally changes have a negative impact on the game, but I think it's livened it up a little bit, and obviously in the last 10 minutes there's been a little bit more action than there was at the beginning of the second half.
They're not out of this though, Manchester City, because they have been creating things when they've got forward. I certainly want an improved performance in the Champions League this season. Very disappointing, albeit in a tough group last year against Borussia Dortmund, Real Madrid and Ajax. Didn't win a game.
I'm sure that won't happen this season. Definitely not.
I'll hope for a bit of a kinder draw as well, to be fair. Clichy.
Another great ball from Clichy.
Flag was up against Edin Dzeko. It must have been close.
But I think tonight has shown the importance of fullbacks getting forward and
looked level, didn't he? There, Dzeko.
Clichy's had a good game again tonight, and I think the modern-day fullback needs to be very comfortable in possession. Obviously, be a very good defender at times as well. But I think you see in these very good sides, whether it's Barcelona or Real Madrid, the fullbacks get forward so much.
They've bought a few left backs as well in recent years. Manchester City going back to Wayne Bridge. Here's Van Buiten, Belgian defender, still going strong at 35. Mandzukic again. He was Bayern Munich's top scorer in the league last season. Scored for them at Wembley as well, didn't he?
Yeah. I think he's definitely got goals in him, even though he's probably not a traditional goal scorer. I think his greatest attribute, speaking to Schweinsteiger, is that he's very unselfish. He runs the channels, puts pressure on the opposing centre-backs when they're in possession, which is such an important part of the modern game as well.
Coming up to 12 minutes to go. Bayern Munich 2, Manchester City 1 in this prestige friendly in the final of the Audi Cup here before a full house at the Allianz Arena. Manchester City ahead with Alvaro Negredo's goal. Bayern Munich returning the fire with an equaliser from the spot from Thomas Muller, and then Mario Mandzukic with the second. Oliver feeds it wide. Here's Ribéry. Looking to get across, and he does that as well. Shaqiri attacked that on the near post. It's come out here to Lahm. Muller tried his luck, took a deflection, it'll be a corner.
Well, it was a great opportunity from Ribéry. I think he just waited a little bit too long. There was an overlap. He probably should have crossed it a little bit earlier. In the end, he got a good cross in, but it was just defended well.
Lahm. Mandzukic was in there again.
And I think that's what little tricks like that defending was. I think Zabaleta just nudged Mandzukic when he went to take that header. And I think if Martinez would have done that early on the Negredo, we probably would have stopped a goal-scoring chance. And I think it's not a foul, it's just defending, I guess.
Maybe levels of not necessarily fitness but sharpness beginning to kick in a little as well, with Bayern so close to the start of the Bundesliga, and Manchester City is still 3 weeks away from the start, or nearly that, of the Premier League. Kirchhoff.
Well, amazingly, Lam is one of the most veteran players, and he's played 2 nights in a row a week before the season starts, so he's obviously very durable, but I'm not sure I would be risking him.
Great ball, Shaqiri towards Ribéry. Good covering again by Company. It's been a good contest here.
Vincent makes it look so easy defending. It's definitely not that easy, but he's such a good athlete.
Very much the leader of the gang as well for Manchester City. Here's Mandzukic again. Lahm was in some space. Muller tries to find him. 1 or 2 gaps beginning to appear. Mandzukic, off the post and away.
Lam has made so many great runs into the box, which has taken people away. Great touch from Mandzukic. It could be a little bit tighter, but it's a great strike, and he's a little bit unlucky not to score again.
Wonder how he feels about all the talk about signing Lewandowski from Dortmund. Mandzukic, he must be, well, I'm doing a pretty good job myself, what's wrong with me?
Well, I think sadly often teams look for the marquee signing and the big name, but often that's not the right thing for the football club. The most important thing is to get the players that improve the squad and create the right balance, and I think he proved last season that even though he's probably not the greatest technical player, he does a lot of things for the club that go unnoticed, and allows Robben and Ribéry and Schweinsteiger to shine a little bit more than he does.
40 appearances, 22 goals last season.
How easy is that? Vincent has been flawless tonight.
And they've needed that as well, Manchester City, and Boyata hasn't done too badly alongside him, considering that he's been very much in the Manchester City shadows and loaned out last season.
He's played well. He just probably could have done a little bit better on the goal, I think. Otherwise, he's played very well, considering he hasn't been a part of the first team for quite some time. I think it's gone a bit flat now. 8 minutes left, and see if City can muster up something.
Company. Maybe there's one last chance left in this for the likes of Dzeko. I mean, the one thing Manchester City wouldn't have wanted, pre-season or not, was to get hammered 4 or 5-0 here. And they certainly, that hasn't happened. Look at Navas's pace there. Just goes past people like they're not there. Does not keep that in. Now it went out of play. But the speed of Navas is quite frightening.
It's remarkable, actually. I think even players who know of him, and he's obviously had a great career with over 400 appearances in Seville, I don't think anybody realized he was that quick, and that's obviously his greatest strength, considering he only weighs 60 kilos, and I think people will think he's a little bit of lightweight for the Premier League, but if you're quicker than everyone, then it's probably not much of an issue.
I'm impressed you know his exact weight, Owen.
I'm trying to do my job well.
European champions leading by 2-1, having been behind. Boateng to Mandzukic. Muller. A bit of a misunderstanding at the time between Muller and Mandzukic. Muller, who won the Golden Boot, remember, at the World Cup in 2010. And gave the rather self-deprecating quote, "I just got lucky."
Well, he's probably not too wrong. I mean, he's not the easiest on the eye, but he's, like I said before, he's the most effective football player I think I've ever seen. I think he takes up great positions. His understanding of the game is terrific, and often you see his goals and his crosses, they get deflected and they bounce off people, but he finds a way to score goals and impact games tremendously, with people with less talent seem not to do as well as he does.
Last 5 minutes coming up here. Manuel Pellegrini has one pre-season trophy, the Asia Cup. It begins to look like he might not be able to add the Audi Cup to that. Fernandinho, Dzeko on the chase. Van Boyten made sure he wasn't getting there.
Well, I think the one positive is they've created chances, and I think they look like the delivery has been terrific for some of the chances that they've had, but they probably haven't had enough possession. And Bayern Munich obviously is a very, very good side, and probably deserve to just be leading a little bit, obviously, even though Manchester City has had some great chances in this game.
Here's Yaya Toure. Chip towards Milner. Trying to break from midfield. Van Boyten gets it away. Nasri. Now then Navas. Misunderstanding there between the new teammates.
Well, with Navas being so quick, often I think one of Zabaleta's greatest strengths is his overlapping and getting forward, and I think he showed that last season. And him being that quick, I think sometimes it might be difficult for Zabaleta to be able to catch up and provide that option for him. So I think if he just waits a little bit and holds off, I think they'll create a mismatch.
Shaqiri.
If he finds a switch, Muller's in.
And Shaqiri again. As with last night, taken the eye since he's come on. Rafinha sent off against Dortmund at the back end of last season. Away from home in that amazing atmosphere you get every time Dortmund play at home. Foul on Lahm, I think. Free kick.
It's probably the first mistake from Vincent Kompany. Obviously a little bit of clever defending. Philip has made a great run, check. He's running behind him, and Vincent has just had to hold him off and pull him back for a deserved free kick.
Thomas Müller. But there's nothing really for Manchester City to be too heartbroken about. This is their really pre-season, decent workout, highest class of opposition away from home, 2-1.
Well, I think they've done quite well. I think they've had opportunities going forward. I think they've defended very, very well at times, even though they've conceded probably more possession than they would like. They've looked dangerous on the break, and they're missing Aguero. And this probably wasn't their strongest side out tonight. And like you said, the opposition is great.
Dzeko's onside here and can equalise, but doesn't. Neuer makes the save. It was a massive chance. The flag stayed down, and Edin Dzeko will feel he should have put City level.
Well, it's a great ball in again. And I think Dzeko just doesn't take it with him properly, or he doesn't make good contact. He should. Edin Dzeko, you definitely fancy him to score there. And I think he just took a bad touch and couldn't get it from under his feet.
Massive opportunity. City have created a lot of chances. That might be a little bit of a worry for Guardiola.
Well, I said before, I think they're missing a centre-back, like I think Manchester City is probably missing a centre-back as well.
Dzeko attacking that. Fernandinho tried to keep it in. It is a goal kick.
The only problem is there's not many Vincent Kompany's around. Great ball from Milner. Just lets it run. I think he just... I'm not sure what he's trying to do there. I think he might get... Maybe he takes a bit of a funny bounce. I mean, it's such a great ball.
It wouldn't come down, would it?
So he just runs off his shin. But as you saw earlier, Rafinha bumps him, throws him a little bit off balance, and that completely changes the finish. In the end, it's a not a great strike of the ball, but it's a good save because it would have gone in.
Just didn't quite get enough on it, and that was the other one where he was trying to get in the header. And it was a clash of heads in the end.
You don't see Philip Lam out jumping many people, especially Aiden Jekyll.
Bayern have certainly had the lion's share of the ball and have bossed large sections of the game, but Manchester City have probably had, what, half a dozen very presentable chances here, one of which they put in the back of the net.
At least, yeah, and I think they've created some of those chances quite easily at times, which I think you might be right, would be a little bit of a worry for Guardiola, but that's the problem with having such an attacking lineup that they have, with wingers and fullbacks getting forward at times. If you don't have the numbers to drop in behind and defend, it's going to make it difficult.
Mitchell Weiser, who scored last night, the 19-year-old, is coming on, and Philip Lahm won't do 2 times 90 minutes. As fit as he is, so the skipper. And the captain's armband goes to Thomas Muller for a few minutes anyway, and we're into stoppage time now. There's not usually a lot of that in these sorts of games. Navas. Yaya Toure towards Dzeko.
Great ball from Yaya.
The new boy Weiser. You say you played with his dad?
I played against his dad. His dad was a left fullback, Patrick Weiser from Wolfsburg.
Obviously runs in the family. That is it. It is all over. Bayern Munich have beaten Manchester City by 2-1 here. It might have been different though, with some better finishing from Manchester City, and you could say the game did turn on a controversial penalty decision for handball against Pablo Zabaleta. Final thoughts from you, Owen?
I thought it was a good game. 2 very good sides. A great workout from both sides. I thought Bayern Munich looked the far better side early on in the game. City created chances on the break. Negredo probably could have had a better game, but scored a very, very good goal. Vincent Kompany looked tremendous again, which I think is going to be important. Throw in Mika Richards into that, and I think there's a lot of pluses for Manchester City, but obviously Bayern Munich is a little bit further ahead, obviously with their season starting in a week.
Thank you, Owen. So that's the story here in BT Sports' first ever live game. Bayern Munich 2, Manchester City 1.
Owen Hargreaves, Ian Dark, thank you both very much for talking us through our first live football match here on BT Sport. Starting as we mean to go on, 2 big names, 2 big games. Well played to both teams out there today. Manchester City really giving as good as they got against the champions of Europe, but Bayern Munich doing what they do so often, running out the winners here. But we'll see the big moments again in just a couple of seconds. But this was a really good chance to see Manuel Pellegrini, the way he sets his side up, the way he reacted at half-time to change things around, and a good look at some of the new signings for Manchester City as well. And for all you City fans, they're 90 minutes closer to the start of the new season. See you in just a second. So for the rest of all time, Bayern Munich will be the first team to have won a match on BT Sport. And there's plenty more football to come your way, including the first ever SPFL game, Partick Thistle versus Dundee United. That kicks off tomorrow. Our coverage starts at 7 o'clock on BT Sport 1 in high definition. And then 2 big names from English football. Steven Gerrard's testimonial. Of course, he scored that amazing goal, didn't he, against Olympiacos. Therefore, that's who he's playing in his testimonial. And we are taking the game live. And then we've got action from the Emirates Cup, Arsenal versus Napoli, Saturday afternoon. So the pre-season friendlies keep on coming thick and fast. And in just a couple of seconds, we'll be straight back over to Munich for the trophy presentations. Hopefully, we'll hear from the people at the centre of the action this evening. But let's just talk about the new man at the helm for Manchester City, Manuel Pellegrini. If you're the man sitting in the dugout, how do you reflect on that game? What do you think?
I think he's got to be happy overall. As much as we're talking about the look of tiredness at the beginning of the game, I mean, they actually created the best chances, and if it wasn't for some great goalkeeping by Neuer, I think they could have quite easily won that game.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's good to see Negredo. We talk about the new signings because principally that's what we want to see. I thought Negredo was excellent, actually. Yes, he made a couple of chances, but I've got no problem with that because he's in the right place at the right time. He got a lovely goal when he finally come. Really impressed by Jesus Navas when he came on. He changed the game in the second half. I thought, here's his first chance. Should have scored, yes, we know that. The poor header comes off his shoulder. This is a more difficult chance, of course. He just trying to get back. He gets a little knock, but I thought he was impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I like him. I really like him. A goal scorer. That's what you watch this game and you just think goal scorer straight away. He gets in these positions. This is a great goal. I mean, he's direct, he's strong.
Tells you a fair bit about the centre back as well, though, doesn't it?
Well, it does, but you know, we're talking about I'm strikers union, and it's a shot. You know, across the goalkeeper, he's a big old lump in goal, Neuer, and it's hard.
If you're a Man City fan watching this, are you looking at that thinking, blimey, he needed 3 or 4 chances to get a goal? Or are you happy that you've signed a striker who's getting himself in the right positions?
Definitely, right positions. I mean, look at his numbers, look at his stats. He bangs goals in left, right, and centre for the national team and for Sevilla. Over the last few years, he will score goals. Yeah. That's the main thing if he gets in the positions.
You know what I liked as well is, here on BT we've got the Bundesliga as well. I think Pep Guardiola, we know their season starts in 8 days. They've got a big game at the weekend. He will have learned a lot of things from this game as well. They were toothless without a number 9. Mandzukic come on and has turned the game as well. Yeah. They're much better when they've got proper centre halves. Javi Martinez cannot play centre half if he can run as slow as he did tonight when he was chasing Negredo.
I think you offered him the chance to come and sit in here when we were watching the match.
We know
come and sit with us.
The Champions League final he played centre midfield. He probably feels isolated at centre back, and he changed it. Boateng come on, Van Buiten come on. So Pep Guardiola's learned a lot tonight as well, and that's what I like. I think both managers will learn.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, as much as they won the game 2-1 last season, Bayern Munich prided themselves on clean sheets. I mean, the goalkeeper will be annoyed about that goal. And the fact that he's had to make 3 or 4 good saves. What we were talking about this before. I mean, the interesting thing about Neuer is his positioning. I mean, he doesn't do the traditional diving out. He stands up strong, and the save right at the end there. I mean, we're talking about Bayern Munich winning the competition. Yeah. And with a minute left on the clock, he's having to pull off a good save.
Yeah, we'll have a look at that save in just a couple of moments. But talking about the way that the managers change things around, credit actually both Pep Guardiola and Pellegrini, both of them at half-time decided to really look at the way the game was shaping up and alter things quite a lot.
Well, Pellegrini in particular, I mean, Pep Guardiola, you know, they were in control really. They had 40 minutes at least of domination, but certainly Pellegrini, I was concerned. They just couldn't get out. They were playing 2 strikers, but none of them were getting a kick of the ball. So why didn't, even for 5 minutes, drop one into midfield, have more of a building block so you can then get up the pitch and then start, you know, passing the ball in there, and it took half an hour, 40 minutes before they even got a few passes together. Credit to Pellegrini. He brought a striker off Jovetic and then, you know, Nasri into that hole to link players up, and there we go. It was a more even game second half.
I think Milner was, the second half especially, was superb. You know, people always talk about him being a bit of a utility player, but when he gets out wide, does a little trick, whips the ball in, and
I'll tell you who is going to be happy this year is Dzeko. I mean, you've got Milner that's a cracking cross of the ball, left or right foot, and now you've got Navas that's a crosser of the ball. There was most of the chances today for Negredo were headers. So I mean, I bet you Dzeko was sitting there.
I think if you're a Man City fan, you're sitting there actually pretty happy with what you saw.
So. I think you've got a plan A, you've got a plan B. The people they have, and we know that Pellegrini said, you know, the transfer, this budget of Manchester City's, these going into the market and acquiring players, it hasn't stopped. There's still a month left of the transfer window, and they will go again. But I think tonight, it was after he brought Yaya Toure in straight away, wasn't it, at half-time. He was not happy with whatever went on. Yaya Toure played 90 minutes yesterday. He was in straight away, and they were a much better side for it.
And I think you've bought really good footballers when they can also play basketball.
Yeah, of course it is.
Talking of which, let's have a look at that moment, because it was more basketball than it was football. I mean, Owen Hargreaves in the commentary box said this shouldn't have been a penalty. Do any of you agree with him?
I agree.
Do you?
I do, yeah. I mean, he's not looking at the ball. You can argue that his arm's up in the air. but there's no way that he's attempting to play the ball. And if had his arms been down, the ball strikes. It's the same thing. It's unintentional.
But regardless of intention, hasn't the fact that his arm struck the ball stopped it from dropping into the striker's path?
Of course.
I think if you're the right back, Jay, you're absolutely appalled that that's being given because he wasn't focused on the ball. His eyes were looking somewhere else, as Owen said. But when you're Mandzukic and you've headed the ball and it's gone back into the penalty area, you're aggrieved that his hands has knocked it out. So I can see it from both ways. Ian Dark put it right. There needs to be better laws. Yes, it wasn't deliberate, but his arm was in an unnatural position. Two wrongs don't make it right.
I mean, it's like going into a tackle and going for the ball but not getting it and bringing someone down. I mean, well, I unintentionally brought him down. Well, you brought him down. The ball was about to drop. The ball was about to drop and he was about to...
It's a yellow card. So, I mean, whether we change the laws or they change the laws so an unintentional handball like that results in an indirect free kick rather than a direct free kick, which is a penalty.
I mean, that's a penalty all day for me.
I'm
all against what Owen was saying as well in the commentary.
You were wrong.
I think when you've got two attackers up against the goalkeeper, it's always going to be 2 against 1. I think we might have this throughout the season, actually. Let's have a look at Mandzukic then, and the winner for Bayern Munich. Great ball in.
It was a wonderful ball in by Thomas Müller. First touch, lovely control. Clichy's not tight enough. 5 yards away. What a cross. If it wasn't Mandzukic, it was their own Boateng putting the ball in the net. But that's why I think they need a number 9. I think they are better. There's talk about Lewandowski going there. Yeah. Certainly, if not this year, certainly next year. But Mandzukic will feel aggrieved. Scored in the Champions League final and started this season really well.
I mean, you've got a ball. I'm always, we're watching the strikers in this instance, but you've got a ball there that's gone right across. It's not been headed in at the near post. It's been headed right at the far. I mean, how long does he need, or any of the defenders need, to spot the danger, or the goalkeeper for that matter? I mean, how it's got right across, and there was 2 of them queuing up to put it in. I
think early on in the game, we were talking about the wide men for Bayern and the difficulty that the fullbacks have in that midfield player. We had Clichy, and Nazari, and whether they go with the wide man or whether they stay in the middle. And Bayern Munich were loving putting that ball out wide. Ball's gone out wide, crossing. Defence is spread. Yeah. And then you've got 2 guys. I mean, if I was one thing looking at, for Pellegrini, I'd be looking at why 2 men are running at the far stick, attacking the ball, and they're not being picked up.
Yeah, I'm just really fascinated, actually, because people love Pep Guardiola. They love the fact he went to New York for his sabbatical. They loved what he did at his previous club. Why has he got this fascination of playing without a recognised number 9, a recognised striker?
Well, I just think he loves the fluidity, of the movement, aren't they? Whether it's Alcantara, whether it's Bastian Schweinsteiger or Martinez, they've got it defensively, but he wants it up front as well. And I just think they look a little bit lost at the moment. They won the treble last year. You don't necessarily... He's put, as Owen said before, and he's put Philipp Lahm, arguably one of the best left-back, right-back combination in the world. He's playing him centre midfield. He's putting Cantara further back. It's a strange formation for me. And in the end, he keeps going back to the tried and trusted method of last year.
Is it the best job to get? Or is it one of the hardest jobs to get when you take over a team that was so dominant last season?
Well, it's a bit like David Moyes at Manchester United, isn't it? I mean, it's a great job to get. You're inheriting a great team with a lot of money to spend. If you see any chinks or any areas that you need to improve. But just going back to your last point, I mean, I think at Barcelona he had the players that were suited to that system, that fluidity, as Maka says. With your Messi dropping off and everything. I'm not sure whether Bayern Munich are totally suited to that. They've played all last year with one dominant striker. And as I say, Barcelona have got players, Iniesta and,
do you think, Michael, as well, with Robben and Ribéry, that's where they like to play? They like to play wide. Barcelona don't have wide men because, they play, everything revolves around Messi, but they haven't got a figure like that. So that's why I think in the end, he'll go back to that Mandzukic centre forwards role, and he looks powerful.
But when you're setting up defensively against one or no striker, it's very difficult. You've got 4 men in defence, not necessarily marking anyone. I mean, again, first half, the amount of movement that was going on because no one was holding in that role up front. Well, they didn't have many up front. It's difficult to defend.
And all that happens, you surrender possession basically. Yeah. I mean, when we were in the Champions League, I was on the bench for the Champions League final, Barcelona, Manchester United. And we knew that they weren't going to play anyone up front, but their back four. But what can you do as a back four? You can't go into midfield and picking players up. So we basically had to almost surrender possession in certain areas. It is a nightmare to play against.
Well, I think City set out that way. I mean, the back four and the midfield was so tight at the beginning of the game that it was just encouraging more pressure. And Owen made a good point there. that Man City need to have a bit more possession in the midfield. They started doing that and towards the last 5 minutes of the first half, second half, they had a lot more joy.
OK, well, let's find out how Vincent Kompany found it out there tonight. He might not have been playing against a recognised striker, but it wasn't easy for the boys at the back for Manchester City. And he's talking to Ray Stubbs.
Vincent, thank you for coming over to talk to us. What's your opinion of Manchester City's performance this evening, please, in the home of the European champions?
Well, you know, so it's a friendly game, but, you know, you got to say, I think we put in a good performance. In the beginning, we were probably not having as much possession as we would have liked, but then again, I think tactically we did brilliant. And with 0-0 at half-time, I think second half we had a lot better chances. And my opinion, I think we deserve better today.
Over the course of the game, you created several chances against Bayern Munich.
Yeah, as I said, we had a lot of chances, and we're probably a few weeks into the season, those balls are going to go in. More importantly, I think that we defended really well, and we didn't give them a lot of chances. The penalties is left to everyone's opinion, I guess.
It's a strange situation when Pablo's arm is way behind his head and he can't see it, but the rules, I guess. It's like defenders say no, attackers say yes. Strange decision.
Yeah, but it's unintentional, I guess. So yeah, it'd be good to have it clarified once again, maybe. But again, it's a friendly game, and we had such a positive attitude. And in the end, I think that every single time we were going forward, we looked sharp, we looked dangerous. That's the good thing for us.
You were immense tonight, absolutely immense. As the captain, what are you thinking ahead of the Premier League season now, with your new signings and a great spirit of optimism within this camp?
Well, you see that the new signings lift the team. They're great players, and I mean the pace of Navas and Jovetic, and then the work rate of Alvaro. You know, I can only have positive things to say about those guys, and you know, we got to put in a performance now. I guess the talking is almost over, and that's a good thing.
Thanks for coming over and talking to us. All the best. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's good to hear that, isn't it? The talking's almost over, and when it kicks off right here on BT Sport. Liverpool versus Stoke in just a couple of weeks. And you've got a friend. You've got a friend who also thinks it wasn't a penalty.
Absolutely.
He's a defender.
Of course he is.
He's a defender.
And he also plays for Man City.
You haven't defended once in your life.
I thought what was interesting, though, considering that he's a defender, where he was focusing a lot of his praise was on the offensive play from Manchester City. I'd like to know what you all thought of Jesus Navas when he came on. You were impressed, weren't you?
Really impressed, yeah. I mean, I've watched him a lot for Sevilla over the years. I mean, he came through the ranks at Sevilla, and he's been a one-man club. So there are going to be question marks moving club for starters, but moving to a new country. But he's a great player to watch. I mean, he doesn't score enough goals, is my one criticism. But his assist rate is phenomenal.
Yeah.
He's fast, he's sharp, he beats players, he excites players, he gets you on the edge of your seat, and he's a good crosser of the ball. As I say, some of the strikers there for Man City will be really looking forward to.
On the flip side, Jovetic was brought off. He couldn't really impose himself on the game, but it wasn't set up for him, really, was it?
He had a chance early on, actually, in the game, and it was unlucky. But I think it was one of those games, as I said, the first 40 minutes, they just let Bayern have possession, and anybody who was on the field looked poor, didn't they? Yeah. They really did. It was difficult for him to get into the game. Negredo got into the game, but I was the same. I was really impressed with Jesus Navas. After Adam Johnson and Scott Sinclair and lesser wingers, they've suddenly bought somebody who looks as if he's going to terrify the opposition.
OK. Right, stay with us. Trophy presentation coming your way very shortly. Welcome back to the launch of BT Sport. This is the moment that Sebastian Schweinsteiger was handed the trophy in the Allianz Arena. Congratulations to Bayern, doing what they tend to do, winning trophies. The question is, will they win the big one this season? Will they be the first team to manage to defend the Champions League? What do you think, David?
I think they've got a very good chance. I am very, very impressed.
I'm sure they've got a very good chance. Would you care to elaborate?
Well, who's going to beat them? I think Barcelona are a spent force. I would argue that Spanish football is spent. Then you're looking at sort of English.
So?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. Because shock. No, but what I would say is, judging from last season, you know, Malaga, who were very unfortunately knocked out against Dortmund.
Yeah.
You know, they were 2-1 up.
Pellegrini knows all about that, doesn't he?
If that result goes Malaga's way, you're talking about Spanish domination. Still 3 teams in the semi-finals out of 4. So I would never say I would never agree with JMO and say they've spent 4, especially now Barca have gone and got Neymar, and there's a good chance Real Madrid might get a certain Gareth Bale, and they've already bought Isco, Illaramendi, Casemiro. You know, they bought really well. So yes, of course they're going to be still up there, Bayern Munich, because they've got finances to match their ambition.
I like the fact
think it'd be different.
I like the fact you've been open early on and just said I would never agree with JMO. I look forward to seeing whether at any point throughout the coming season.
I would never agree.
I know what you meant. I know what you meant.
I probably won't never agree with JMO.
I think that's probably right. What do you think? Can they do it, Bayern? I mean, Dortmund have already beaten them in the German version of the Community Shield, effectively. You know, maybe the biggest threat is going to come from another German team.
Maybe, and of course English teams. I mean, there's certainly Chelsea, Manchester City and Manchester United are going to put up a strong resistance. You'd have to say Bayern Munich are the favourites. I mean, they dominated. They were by far, right the way through the tournament last year, they were the best team by a mile, and they're the team to beat, 100%.
OK, you talk about Malaga almost making it. One man who would have really been hurt by that, of course, is Manuel Pellegrini. He's now hoping that at Manchester City he can make his and the owners' dreams come true and pick up some European silverware. Let's hear from him after tonight's match.
Mr. Pellegrini, nice to meet you and thank you for coming over to talk to us. Can I just ask, please, your opinion of your team's performance tonight, please, in the home of the European champions?
Yes, of course. I'm really happy what my team did here today, because I think that Bayern in the first half has more possession of the ball, but they didn't have much clear chances to score. I think that we finished the last 10 minutes of the first half, we had 3 very clear chances to score, but they played better the first half. The second half, I think that the possession of the ball was from my team. We had, again, 2 very clear chances before we scored the goal. We were playing very well. I think that Bayern was tired and was died. And the penalty kick gives them life, and they finished winning the match. But at the last moment, we also have another very clear choice to score. So I am very happy what my team did here. It's a very difficult stadium. It's a very strong team, Bayern. They play with their whole team. We made a mix. They must start Bundesliga next week. We must start 15 days more. So they are better prepared than we are at the moment. But really, I think that we didn't lose this match.
Do you think the game hinged on the penalty decision? Did you have a clear view of it?
Yes, I think that before the penalty we were playing very well, and Bayern have feel what they did in the first half, that they really played strong. But the referee think that was penalty, and we have nothing to say and nothing to do. But for my team, I think it was a very important game. It was a very, very important challenge, and very useful for what Champions League will be this year.
There is a great mood of positivity in the Manchester City camp. You are building a good spirit already. What is your message to your players and to the Manchester City supporters about what you can achieve this season?
Well, the same message that I said when I arrived. I think we have a very good squad. We are working to have a good team. We have just working for 3 weeks. I am sure that we are going to be a strong team. Now we must try to do every week and every match what we done here today, as I said, in a very difficult stadium, and this champion is the team that won the last Champions League.
Congratulations on your team's performance tonight, and welcome to English football.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very happy in Manchester. Very glad to be the new manager of Manchester City, and I'm sure that we are going to have a very strong team.
Do you like the city? Have you been around it much yet?
Yes, of course. It's all perfect, no problem.
Hey, thanks for talking to us. Cheers.
Thanks.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. See you soon.
To be quite honest, I'm not sure he knows his way around Manchester just yet. That team seems to have been on the road ever since he took the job. Now, these are not just the title odds, but this is just an example of how much it's changed at the top of the Premier League, with Jose Mourinho returning to Chelsea, Pellegrini, as we know, coming in at Manchester City, and David Moyes taking the job at Manchester United. How much of a pain is it for David Moyes, David, that the other two teams at the very top of the Premier League have also changed managers? Because you sort of lose the excuse of, well, it's a new manager.
This is very true. I think the previous manager at Manchester City would have been better suited for Moyes to go in there because, as I say earlier, because of the unrest. At the same time, I think bringing David Moyes in, bringing Phil Neville in, and sort of going a little bit with the old Manchester United sort of ethos, especially with Phil Neville, as I say, I think he's going to create himself a chance. I don't personally think they're going to win the league. I think it's Chelsea's to lose, given Mourinho going back in.
Very briefly and quite fascinatingly, actually, before David Moyes took the job at Manchester United and Jose Mourinho went to Chelsea, United were favourites for the title, and now that's flipped round and everyone's talking about Chelsea for the title.
Man United ran away with the title last year, and because Jose Mourinho's gone back to Chelsea, yes, they brought Schürrle in, but that's all.
Yeah.
He's suddenly gone favourites. It's just, that's why the bookmakers are making a fortune. You suggest that if anybody should be favourites to win the league, it should be Manchester City, who have spent and invested heavily already.
Well, logically, you'd say that, wouldn't you?
Well, logically, you would, of course.
Do you fancy them?
How are Manchester United the outsiders of the three?
The three is amazing.
They won the league. They absolutely strolled the league last year. I mean, OK, you know, Manchester City bought a few players.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a little bit in the JMO camp. I'll agree with him for once. I
like
think,
you, Michael.
I think
really
the Mourinho
like
factor is important. Everyone will get a lift from that, but they need to buy a striker big time. Otherwise,
well, let's quickly talk about transfers before we have to disappear and carry on with our sort of launch programme. Gareth Bale to Real Madrid. Should he go? You know what it's like to make that move. Should he go?
I think he should go. I think 87 million, what they're talking about, isn't a truly astounding figure, and I don't see why Tottenham will keep him.
OK. We know that Atletico Madrid have had an offer from Liverpool, 21 million for Diego Costa. Do you think that Suarez is on his way out of Liverpool?
As soon as the news came through, the first reaction was not how good this lad is, but it's Suarez. You know, that almost says Suarez could be on his way out.
OK. And the last word of the live football for the evening for you. Which football club will Wayne Rooney be playing at next season? One word answer.
FC.
That's called bottling it. Right, thank you very much, gentlemen. A wonderful evening of our first live football here on BT Sport. Make sure you join us in just a couple of moments as our big launch night continues.